All right, sorry about that, everyone. We are back. There's no intro for this video. This is part 2 of episode 78. My computer crashed. It's never done that before. So yeah, it might be time to invest in an Apple computer. I don't know. But yeah, that completely sucked. Going back to my thoughts though, Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to be a long-term solution for this team. He's too old. And I hold on. This is on my mind. Before I move on, I see Fonzie back in the comments here. I saw him comment on the video like after it was posted after my computer crashed. And I saw Kenny 49ers tuning into the channel for the first time. Kenny, I'm so sorry we didn't get to your comments. I will look at the other video when I get a chance. And hopefully you tune back into the channel. Maybe you want to re-ask the questions if you're watching this live again. That sucked. Yeah. So hopefully that never happens ever again. But I'm going to go ahead and just continue where I left off with Brock Purdy. So, yeah, you're not going to go the Aaron Rodgers route. They had to pay Brock. You know, whether it was the right decision is, I'd say far from yet to be determined. So, I mean, you always want to pay players for what they will provide to the team going forward. And, I think Brock Purdy has the right mindset, but I just don't know if he will ever live up to his contract due to his physical limitations. I think he's done a great job of playing around his physical limitations in his career. But, if we get the 2022 to 2023 Brock Purdy, for most of the deal, then I think this decision was a no-brainer, and you could argue that the deal is team-friendly and will look better as, the other top-end quarterbacks get their extensions. If he looks like how he did in the past season, I just don't think that that'll be good enough to be one of the 7 highest-paid players in the NFL. And, if that happens, then honestly, long-term, I'll just kind of think of him as the best quarterback to play under Shanahan's system on the 49ers, him just being better than Jimmy Garoppolo, Brian Hoyer, CJ Beathard, Trey Lance, Nick Mullins, but not a superstar. I think we're going to learn everything, or at least a lot about Brock Purdy over the next couple years. And, I have to say, I love the story behind Brock Purdy. I love him being, from being Mr. Irrelevant to now becoming, the highest paid player in 49ers history. I honestly think it's really cool. I just think that, I think that Brock Purdy has more to prove considering he is highly paid now. He's not the cheap option, and the 49ers are playing with house money. They're playing with real money now. I think it's no question that he deserved to be paid, for everything that he's been, that he has accomplished, especially considering the quarterbacks that are paid, I guess, around his pay range, especially the ones like right above him have not they have not accomplished nearly as much as him. I'll just kind of list some names. Tua makes a little bit more than Brock Purdy. Trevor Lawrence makes more than Brock Purdy. Jordan Love makes more than Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy is a lot more accomplished than those quarterbacks. Hell, Dak Prescott makes more than Brock Purdy, right? Dak Prescott makes more than everybody. So I just kind of hope that the story doesn't end there, is all I'm saying. I don't want it to be, oh, he went from Mr. Irrelevant to one of the highest paid players in the NFL. I don't want the story to end there. I want the story to end with a Lombardi trophy in his hand, if that makes sense. Otherwise, I think it would be pretty disappointing and would probably lead to the downfall of the, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan regime, I would assume, right? I can't tell the future, but I could only think that if Brock Purdy, if they pay so much money to Brock Purdy and he doesn't pan out, if he sucks or the contract is not good, it's all right, how many more quarterbacks are you going to go through? This should be your guy. We just paid him hella money. Um, but like the extension itself really just kind of leaves me on the fence because I think he's done enough to earn this payday. In fact, you know, like I said, he's more accomplished than other quarterbacks around his pay range. Mike brought up the group chat and how Tyler said that Justin Herbert is making less than Brock Purdy now, and I I know Justin Herbert is better, but I just kind of because it's my friend, I just clap back. I'm like, yeah, the Chargers got to be willing to pay extra for the playoff victories. So, you know, I I just thought it's funny, but I'm just glad it was closer to 50 million than than it was to 60 million like Dak Prescott because seriously, like what were the Cowboys thinking? You know? And I just hope that, you know, uh him getting this money, I just want it to lead to a Super Bowl. That's all I care about at the end of the day. What do you think, Mike?
Uh, I think that I thought that you were joking with me when you first jumped into the podcast because you started like you just immediately. All right, sorry guys, my computer crashed, blah blah blah, and I'm sitting here like I don't even see the stream. Like I think he's just messing with me. Like I literally was gonna
Oh,
cut you off and be like, yeah, funny joke, okay,
oops.
because I felt like I was blind here, but it's all good. Um, no, I don't really have much else to add. I just the contract didn't shock me, and thank you. And this was about what I expected, and it just made the most sense, I think. And I don't know. I think the way that he was able to lead the Niners to a Super Bowl, to an NFC Championship where he got hurt, you know, knocked out of the game, and then they proceed to just completely spiral in the rest of that game against the Eagles. Um, he is capable of winning with Shanahan. That is clear. Um, yeah, I don't know. This always made sense to me. So
Yeah, as Fonzie says in the chat, he says the market changes year to year. By the end of the contract, Purdy won't be a top 10 paid quarterback, which, I mean, that's kind of what I was saying is that as long as he plays well, the quarterback itself will age. I mean, the contract itself will age fine. It'll actually age great, in my opinion, because he's closer to 50 than he is to 60, you know?
yep.
And Raider Nation 510 tuning in says true franchise quarterback. I'm wondering if he's reacting to Brock Purdy's extension or if he's reacting to one of our upcoming topics because he saw the thumbnail in Derek Carr. What do you think, Mike?
I would assume he's talking about Purdy.
I think so. So Raider Nation 510, if you like Brock Purdy, let us know. I think you already did let us know, but I'm asking for clarification. In terms of other extensions, we can talk about another extension. Yeah, he's talking about Brock Purdy. We can talk about the 49ers extending George Kittle. And so they signed George Kittle to hold on. It was, I believe, a 4-year deal worth $76.4 million that will keep him on the roster through 2029, which is that's a long time, if you really think about it. And
And
what were you gonna say, Mike?
well, also considering I believe he's like 30, 31.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's 29 and I'm tripping. I don't know. But
He's
I know
31.
he's around 30. Okay, 31. So yeah. 4-year deal through 29. So yeah, I mean that checks out though. That's Kelsey's age. That checks out.
Yeah. Although I will say, no. You know what? I'll save it for the pros and cons because I'm really just gonna summarize the move. You guys have all had time to like digest it, so I'm just gonna kind of summarize how I feel about it with some pros and cons. So the pros are, in my opinion, he's the best tight end in football. He's the best blocker and one of the best receiving tight ends in the league. You know, so to me and how I value tight end, I think that that skill set puts him, I think, to me at the top right now.
I don't even think that's an outlandish thing to say or anything. I think all around tight end, he is the best in the league. I've felt that for years.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
he proved last season that he still is that guy.
he does a lot of dirty work for the 49ers. The 49ers over this entire regime, they've really undervalued the offensive line in terms of how they choose to spend their draft capital and money outside of Trent Williams. Obviously, they picked Mike McGlinchey in the first round a couple of years ago, like what, 2018? It was 7 years ago. Like, we're in year 9, you know? I love that they picked Dominic Puni, but that wasn't until the third round.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they, outside of Trent Williams, haven't showed to prioritize that. George Kittle picks up a lot of the slack in that regard by being an elite run blocker. They keep George Kittle on the line of scrimmage a lot to run block, and then even sometimes to help out with pass blocking when there's an elite pass rusher. So, I think that George Kittle does a hell of a job doing a lot of the dirty work when it comes to the trenches. But also, I think that his personality in general, I think, is great for the team. It's great for the locker room. I think he's a great leader, and I guess if you count Juszczyk being kicked off the team, briefly, George Kittle, I think, is technically the longest tenured player on the team. But if not, I guess it would be Kyle Juszczyk. But I think his leadership and him being there since the beginning of this regime, I think helps with people, with players looking up to him, and also fans too. It's like the longer he's on the team, the crazier it is. You think about any sport and just kind of the tenure that players will have. George Kittle's kind of, by the end of the contract, as long as he's not traded, he'll be on the team for more than 10 years. Which is, I mean, they have a whole wall on the inside of Levi Stadium dedicated to those players. And so George Kittle will forever be remembered on that wall, so long as he doesn't retire and, he doesn't get traded, which I don't think he will. And I think, who doesn't love George Kittle besides Cowboys fans?
Yeah.
So I think that he deserves to be a 49er for life. He's an all-time great 49er. He is, I will say, though, as we approach the cons, on my list here, he is not the only 49er who has deserved the honor, of being a 49er for life. But these players that I'm going to name didn't get that opportunity. Joe Montana didn't get to be a 49er for life. Jerry Rice didn't get to be a 49er for life. Ronnie Lott didn't. Frank Gore didn't. And many more. This franchise has always been a franchise of getting rid of players earlier, too early rather than too late. So, I'm just going to kind of switch over to the cons of this contract. But, he's up there in age. And that's really the only con that I can see. And, he's had an 8-year career, right? So far. And for a physical player like George Kittle, that's a long time. We saw how quickly Deebo Samuel deteriorated, in terms of his quality of play, because he's a physical player. Physical players, their body can start to break down quick. It can almost happen over the course of a season, So I just hope that Kittle can stay healthy and manage his body the way that he's been able to. But I think common sense would kind of say no. but I still kind of want to see them, you know, ride it out with him, if that makes sense. And this will likely be George Kittle's last big payday because of his age, and you never know how great the contract will look or how the contract will age as he gets older. You know, like if his body does start to break down, does 19 million a year for a tight end, does it make sense if he's not as great? I don't know, but I love George Kittle overall. I love that he's going to remain on the team. I love him as a player, and I love his personality. He's one of the funnest players to watch in the entire NFL. And this move, just this move on the other hand, it just not on the other hand, but it just kind of makes me question, the entire trying to get younger and cheaper. Because the 49ers I think could have made Kittle either hold out, play the last year on his deal or what have you, but they chose to give him a pretty lengthy extension. So I guess it just doesn't include Kittle in that regard. They did get younger in the draft and on the defensive side of the ball for sure. But I think that it doesn't include Kittle because he's so vital to their passing game, but not just that, their running game as well. Like he is a very important. He's vital to what they do on offense.
I think to your point about the 10 years and guys like Joe Montana and Jerry Rice not finishing their careers, their playing careers, with the Niners. Obviously, they're Niners for life, and they will be remembered as Niners forever. But it just hits a little different when you look back on a player's career as a fan, and I'm sure as the player himself too, and just to be like, yeah, man, he was a Niner through and through, all the way through his career. Niner for life, nothing else. Like, whether or not, if in 2, 3, 4 years, George Kittle somehow does end up on another team, even if that were to happen, no matter what, I think George Kittle is the type of player where 20 years from now, we're going to look back and be like, God, remember George Kittle? And just
Yeah.
like, and I'm curious what his stats will look like at the end of his career and how it will stack up versus all-time tight ends because I mean, I think he's like Hall of Fame caliber of a player,
Oh,
you know.
he is. I think he is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I wouldn't say no. That's for sure. You know.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
to your point about players that we think back and look back on, Clive Wolf. No, just kidding. No,
yeah,
Patrick Willis is one of those players. Where it's like,
yeah.
damn, dude, he never won a Super Bowl, and Patrick. I mean, yeah, Patrick Willis only played 8 years. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that
George Kittle has played 8 years now, and he's getting a 4-year extension.
yeah, no, I remember when Willis retired, it was like
What the hell?
what? Yeah. To me as a like non-Niner fan and just kind of from the outside looking in, but also being from the Bay Area, family members that, watch Niners, like I watched the Niners and Raiders on Sundays growing up. Um to me the guy that's like the looking back and just like, man, I kind of took that for granted was Frank Gore. Like in hindsight, I'm like, dude, he is one of the all-time greats and nobody looks at him like that, but statistically he is like a top 10 back. Statistically, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the third most yards in NFL history,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's crazy. Like the thing about Frank Gore is he was never the the best running back in the NFL.
Yeah.
He was
He was always
always
like the
like,
third or fifth.
yeah, or he was like always like top five, you know.
Yeah.
And he played in the same era as like Adrian Peterson, but he kept playing. Like, he had such a long career for a running back,
Yep.
which is why I think Frank
It was
Gore also
insane.
deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, I would put Frank Gore in before Kittle. No offense to Kittle, just it's more of a statistical thing, I think,
Yeah.
and just an overall lifespan of a career. But I I I'd be happy to see both of them in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think Kittle from like the perspective of, all right, if there are players, and Grant and his dad talked about this like years ago, players that you play, like if you're playing against them, you dread playing against them. I feel like George Kittle is one of those players.
Oh, if you're a nickel corner, you got to be shitting your pants seeing him coming at you to run block. Just like, well, I guess I should just lay down, you know.
Yeah.
And then if you have to cover him, it's like as the nickel, you're not gonna be able to out physical George Kittle, you know.
Mm.
And then good luck trying to tackle him. Have fun.
Yeah. Good luck game planning against a guy who will either, I mean, he'll either assist greatly on the offensive line, or he'll go off for 200 yards and a couple touchdowns.
Or drag 5 players on a 4th and 1 or 4th and 11, whatever that play was
Fourth and
against the
I think it was
Saints.
4th and 2.
2, yeah,
Yeah,
that was a good one.
that was the highlight of his career, I think.
Yeah,
So far, he'll probably
so
have.
far.
You know what? You know what play was sick. You know, uh, do you remember the final Battle of the Bay? Uh,
Yeah, the one-handed touchdown.
yeah, that one was pretty sick too. Speaking of Battle
Yeah.
of the Bays, and I don't want to get too off topic, but tonight was, I think, the first A's Giants series since we went to last year, and I guess they're calling it the Highway 80 series, which is disgusting. Makes me want to puke.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the whole thing. Uh,
But yeah,
I
it's
saw that they
special.
had.
Go ahead.
I saw that they had a a sign in front of like the Giants stadium that was like 415 Heart 510, and like somebody, I don't know who it was, somebody responded like ew or no, but it's like, oh, that's cool. Like, I mean, it makes sense for the Giants. It's like, hey, I know we have a market of fans that are pissed off about their team leaving. Hey, we're
Mm.
still here. Makes sense. Um, I know one thing. I will be going to more Giants games. You know,
Well,
do I know for a
41.
fact that I'll be a Giants fan?
What do you think 415 stands for?
The San Francisco area code?
Uh huh.
Unless I'm
Yeah.
tripping.
Yeah, but like, I don't think Sacramento is 510. You know.
No, that's what I mean. It's a because this is at home for the Giants. The expectation is Oakland fans are coming to the games.
Mm,
So the poster is to say, "Hey, we support you," because your team
got
fucked
it.
you over.
Got
Yeah.
it.
And if you want a new team, we're right here. Pretty much
Yeah.
without saying it.
Rooted in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
gonna get to some comments, and then we'll talk about another player uh, who spent a lot of time with one team. Um, Raider Nation 510 says more wide receiver talent needed in San Francisco. Yeah, I'd say so because of the Ayuk injury and them losing Debo. Uh, although them losing Debo, I think was a good thing. Fonzie says in a crappy team too, Gore on a better team would have been lights out. Yeah, I agree. The Frank Gore did run. He rushed for like 1,000 yards every season behind a horrible offensive line. There was so many bad offensive lines, and by the time that he actually had a good team around him, I mean, he was past his prime. But the crazy thing is, even Frank Gore past his prime lasted for so long in the NFL. How many players do you think like past their prime could last? I feel like they get replaced so easily, you know? And the thing about Frank Gore, like, even if you're looking from like a fantasy football perspective, he was never, I'd say, like towards the end. He was never a great option, but he was always like, hey man, he'll give you like 8 fantasy points at least, you know? Or I guess that was like his ceiling and his floor was like 8 points kind of towards the last couple years. But we're not talking about fantasy. We're talking about real football. Frank Gore was a hell of a player. Fonzie said, we got him in the same draft as Alex Smith, I think. Was it that same draft?
I feel like Gore was earlier.
Let me see. When was Frank Gore drafted? Let's see. The third round of the 2005 draft. When was Alex Smith drafted? In, yeah, first overall pick in the 2005 draft. What's so funny?
I'm just looking at Ken Stabler's stats in amazement.
Yeah, no, all right. Let's finish up these comments and then we'll get to a topic where Ken Stabler's stats will be relevant. Let's see. Fonzie said, Raider Nation 510 says, Prime Raheem Mostert should be in the 49ers Hall of Fame. I mean, he did have that special game and kind of special ending to 2019. I just wish that Shanahan wouldn't have forgotten about him in the Super Bowl, or I guess forgotten that he could have used any of his running backs in the Super Bowl, but that's neither here nor there. I'll just be depressed for the rest of the night thinking about that. Thank you, Raider Nation 510. Yeah. Fozzie says, we're 9-16 in sack. Okay, yeah. I was like, I know 510 doesn't span all the way to Sacramento, and I know 415 is San Francisco. I thought Mike maybe thought that 415 was Sacramento, and that the heart was connecting Sacramento to the Bay Area, which I always think of the Bay Area like, I don't know why. I just always think 510. Like, look, I got JCK 510. That's my Bay Area calling. Just adding my 510 at the end. So I don't know why. I always have that in my mind when I think of the Bay. I think of 510.
Yep.
Fonzie says.
Oh shit! No, I thought it was a stupid joke. I'm not saying it. Okay. I just thought I'm not gonna fully say just yeah. And when I think of San Francisco, I think of something completely different. But I don't feel like being rude.
Okay. All right.
It's not about a sports team. It's just about some of the people that live there.
Yeah. Fonzie says, I don't know if you guys remember, but those mid-2000s, we had a new offensive coordinator every year for 4 to 5 seasons. Horrible teams, but we're still here. Yeah. Mostert is far from the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I agree with that, but I think Raider Nation 510 is trying to, just I think he's kind of kidding about Raheem Mostert being in the Niner Hall of Fame, but he is on the Raiders now. So, let's see. Anthony, Anthony says Purdy sucks, $54 million per year. It's actually 53, Anthony. Let me clarify that, okay? Get your facts straight. Let's see. In my opinion, at least. Oh, Mostert being far from Hall of Fame. Yeah, no, he's not even close.
Yeah, no. I don't know if it would be. I'm sure he's talking just Niners Hall of Fame, but
even then,
I think
the tenure,
no, it's too short of a tenure. But a great moment, an all-time great moment. Like he's the type of player that you bring back to like rev an engine or whatever the hell the Niners do, bang the drum, whatever it is before the game.
What they do, they blow the
like a foghorn.
Yeah, they blow the foghorn.
Bring back Mostert for that. That's all you got to do.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I think we're ready to move on. Are we? Let's talk about let's talk about another quarterback. One that used to play across. Well, it's not across the bay from the 49ers anymore. The Niners are over down south, but you know, one that used to play in Oakland for a very long time. Derek Carr announced his retirement. Like, I'm gonna let you open up with Carr first. After his 11-year career, he was your quarterback. You met Derek Carr. How are you feeling?
I did. Um, I don't even remember what day it was that was announced. I feel like I was at my mom's, or I don't know where I was, but it was last weekend. I think it was like last Saturday that it was announced, and it had kind of been getting rumors out there that he might retire because of the shoulder injury, and it just kind of started feeling like his stint with the Saints is really going down the wrong path. And I already knew a lot, like most Saints fans couldn't stand him. Not necessarily to like shit on him. Like I like Derek Carr. Like if I can have 30 minutes to talk about him right now, uninterrupted, it would be a lot of great things. But I also understand how inconsistent he was as a quarterback, and that's probably a big reason why Saints fans didn't care for him, especially from the price that they were paying him. Um, at his stage of his career that he was at, I think Saints fans just want to restart it, maybe, or just at the bare minimum have a top 10 quarterback, and they felt like, wow, Carr's really holding us back or something. With that contract. Uh, Man, yeah, there's a lot of directions I could go. The kid in me who was in like was 2014, he was drafted, so I was a junior in high school. Um, that'll age me. Uh, the junior, senior in high school in me is it's oh dude, it's so weird. Like one of the truths um for me in life is like time heals, you know? Like time heals all wounds. Uh and I don't like that's the saying as it goes, right? It's like time heals all wounds. But this isn't a wound. Like time also changes perspective, you know? And if you spend a lot of time away from something, you'll forget how you feel about it, you know? I'm not I'm not getting emotional, dude. I'm just all I'm saying is just if he what the the junior and senior in high school in me thought this dude can be the next great thing. This guy can be the next great Raider quarterback. I mean, not named Ken Stabler, really the only all-time great statistical, Hall of Fame possibly worthy quarterback in Raiders history. Like other than the Bears and a select few other teams, maybe the Cardinals, the Raiders are pretty piss poor when it comes to like quarterback history in their franchise. But you have Ken Stabler, Hall of Famer. You have Rich Gannon, MVP season. You have Jim Plunkett winning 2 Super Bowls with the team. And Daryl LaMonica, Tom Flores even as a player and then coach, among others.
There's
But
plenty
Derek
of teams
Carr,
that have way worse quarterback history.
oh, way worse, yes, for sure. Because the Raiders were amazing from the late 60s to mid 80s and then in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like they had a lot of winning back in those days. So, yeah, I mean, there are teams like the Lions who probably have way worse. Like I said, the Cardinals, the Bears, the Jaguars are younger, Texans, so on and so forth. But just, I guess my point is, in today's current NFL, it's like to better guarantee yourself to be a winning franchise, you want a franchise quarterback. You know, so like teams like the Bengals with Joe Burrow, obviously Mahomes and the Chiefs, Lamar and the Ravens, Josh Allen and the Bills, C.J. Stroud in theory with the Texans, Justin Herbert with the Chargers. Like so many great quarterbacks. Like I want one of those guys. And the Raiders drafted this guy in 2014, and that high schooler me was like, we might finally have it. And then 2016 happens.
I'm laughing at Fonzie's
Jamarcus,
comment. You said, "Don't
yeah,
forget
Jamarcus,
Jamarcus Russell."
yeah, man, yeah, how great that went. Um, I mean, they drafted him in 2008. Yeah, I mean, until 2014, they were trying to figure that one out. Uh, but yeah, 2016 happens, and it's like, yeah, he actually. I mean, if he doesn't break his fibula, I don't think he was winning the MVP, but he was certainly right there. Like he was on the precipice of winning MVP. The all the Raider fans and even non-Raider fans were thinking, man, what was that team about to be? Until he got hurt. Um, but to your point, like there is this emotional connection, for lack of a better term, that I had to Derek Carr of like at that time, really until mid 2017, maybe even a little past it. Derek Carr was by far my favorite player, like ever, because as a Raider fan, again, seeing these teams with franchise quarterbacks like back in my day, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, like I wanted to see that for the Aaron Rodgers. I wanted that for the Raiders. So once I had this glimmer of hope that I had that, it was like, well, he's my favorite fucking player, and so on and so forth, right? Like I'm gonna root for him hardcore. And then 2017 happens, and he starts kind of getting very inconsistent, and it seems like he's a little bit more gun shy with his pocket awareness. He's more willing to take the sack or lay down before taking the sack because he doesn't want to get hurt. It kind of felt like, and then it took a while for him to get back to where I felt he was being consistently good, really until John Gruden came around. But I don't know, I'm not going to keep going on his entire fucking career. He had a lot of yeah.
No. Finish up your thought, and then I can kind of go over like, I have some stuff prepared of like what Carr did accomplish.
Yep. Yeah. He got a bad deal of cards when it came to his coaches. I mean Gruden probably being the best one as far as a quarterback coach, but I mean Gruden just fucking completely overhauled the entire roster, not named Derek Carr when he came in, And it was funny because when he did come in, all the talk was, well, when is John Gruden going to get rid of Carr? Before he got rid of Mack or Cooper, it was like, well, clearly John Gruden doesn't like Carr, and I was sitting there like, what in the fuck are we talking about, guys? Why would they do that? Like they have at that time, I felt a franchise quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it would have been better if they lost one more game to the Cardinals and then drafted Kyler Murray and trade Derek Carr. I don't know, but that's the past. Just Derek Carr got a bad deck of cards with the Raiders. It ends the way it ends with Josh McDaniels. But at the end of the day, to summarize here, I'll always appreciate and respect Derek Carr and his time with the Raiders. I will always have a soft spot, like one of the softest spots in my heart, for him relative to that time for me as a Raider fan. Mm-hmm. And him actually really being my first, as a Raider fan, my first sign of hope of like, oh, we can finally get out of the gutter of being one of the worst fucking franchises in the NFL. Like he was the first hint of hope for that. Um yeah. Uh
Let me get to some of these
well,
comments because some of these comments are very good and add to, just kind of the overall thoughts of fans about Derek Carr.
yep.
Anthony C in the chat says Carr was a good quarterback who never got his due because of the coaching carousel. Alex Smith played well under Jim Harbaugh and Andy Reid. Carr needed a consistent head coach and offensive coordinator.
Yeah. Yeah, I 1000%. I even post Derek Carr, that's what I've been praying for ever since, because that was Derek Carr's issue, was the, like you said, the coaching carousel. That probably did him in. Like if he started with John Gruden and John Gruden never leaves, they probably make it work. It's just the timeline didn't work because it's like, oh, Derek Carr might be an MVP, breaks leg, loses coaches, Gruden comes in, dismantles the team, so on and so forth. It just never fucking worked. Then comes McDaniels.
Yep. Raider Nation 510 said Carr didn't let us trade him, but Fresno quarterback, so I still got love for him. Let number 4 light the Al Davis torch. So similar to what
I
you were saying about the foghorn.
Yeah. Well, I as the all-time leading passer in Raiders franchise history, there is no way that he isn't like a fixture in the Raiders community within 5 years. I fully believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he will come back, and he will come back hot and heavy
Mm-hmm.
with this team.
JM617 tuning into the channel, I believe for the first time. Welcome to the Silver and Gold podcast. Says Carr was nice, felt like he got too much hate though. And then he said, wasn't he top 5 in game-winning drives of active quarterbacks at one point?
I think he was top 1.
I think it was like him and no, it couldn't have been Stafford at that point.
It was either Stafford
It,
with the
it couldn't
Lions,
have
probably
been.
not.
Yeah.
It might have been like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Fonzie said
Yeah.
Alex Smith 2.0. Getting a lot of Alex Smith comparisons to Derek Carr. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think maybe he's kind of the anti-Alex Smith, because Alex Smith started by sucking
Yeah.
and then got coached up and started playing really good and like winning playoff games. Whereas Derek Carr started really hot in his third year, and then it kind
Never
of
got the coaching.
became, yeah, never got the coaching, and it became less and less consistent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Wi-Fi says the Carr brothers had unfortunate careers. I'd say they did.
Yeah, yeah, I would say
Different
David
ways.
was killed by, you know, getting drafted by a brand new team, a what do you call that? An expansion
Expansion.
team with no offensive line. So his David was the offensive line problems. Derek was the coaching problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Fonzie essentially said, however you felt about Derek Carr is how he feels about Alex Smith.
Oh, I mean,
Raider
Alex Smith for Niner fans was the first overall pick, so you had to sit there thinking, finally, we have hope, just like Raider fans did with Jamarcus Russell.
Raider Nation 510 said Chucky brought Carr back to his 2016 form. Do you agree with that?
Statistically, he actually brought him to like a more consistent form. But I think the difference for me with Derek Carr between 2016 and say 2019 or whenever with Gruden, like his second best season was 2021, I want to say, under Gruden. Um, the difference was in 2016 he was very much a gunslinger, and he was running out there with, I mean, he was throwing it deep a lot more. And then in 2021, he was more, I would say, conservative, but smart and efficient. Like Gruden coached him up to be smarter, whereas 2016 he was like the gunslinger, and that's when I was sitting there like, this dude might be him.
Yeah.
But then he kind of toned it down with Gruden.
Papa J says Derek came in under the bad shadow of his brother David, but proved to be better. But I agree with Mike and got dealt a bad hand throughout his career. Sorry, I don't know why I couldn't read that one.
Oh, I felt like I was taking way too long on my Derek Carr thing because I'm tired of shit. But I'm not complaining. Continue.
Well, you say you're not complaining after you just complained.
Well, no, I was, if anything, I was giving an excuse.
Yeah, no, I'm joking. Uh, but saying all that, even if Derek Carr was dealt a good hand, I don't think he would have been good enough to be in the Hall of Fame, says Papa J.
Yeah, no, Derek Carr's not going to be in the Hall of Fame, not ever. But could he be in the Raiders? Like if the Raiders ever had a Wall of Fame or what do you call a Ring of Honor, I could see it. Like the last thing really I was going to say earlier before we got into the comments was, I appreciate the feeling that he gave me being a Raider fan and like that glimmer of hope. I appreciate the person that he was, the leader that he was. But I think above all, like I really believe it. Like he gave everything to try to win. You know, it's just those bad, deck of hands that he was dealt that made that really hard. And the thing that always killed me, I remember, I mean, at this point I was jaded and Josh McDaniels was the head coach, but I was jaded with Carr and this mentality that I had of like he's just too inconsistent. It's time to move on. But when he went out there in the press conference and was crying because, they weren't winning, it wasn't working, however many years in a row for him, yada yada yada. He probably was just told like, "Yeah, you're pretty much done here, dude." I don't know, but to see him go out there in the press conference in front of the press for everybody to see and starts crying because it's just not working. We're just not winning. Like I couldn't help but sit there. Like I think a lot of people probably sat back and laughed. I sat back and was like, I appreciate the fuck out of this. I've never seen another player do this. Because he cared, which all players care to a degree. All quarterbacks, of course, they care. It's like winning is a quarterback stat, right? Um, and if you're the quarterback and you're the leader of your team, like you winning really represents you, not just your team. Not that you should be thinking about you first over the team, but just it goes hand in hand. Um, but I always felt and believed and still believe like how much he cared about the Raiders winning.
Mm-hmm. Anthony says, I'm shocked I'm not the only one in here. Yeah, you like that? The channel's growing a little bit. Yeah. You guys are on fire tonight with the comments. Fonzie says, Smith sucked for about 5 seasons until Harbaugh came in. Always showed flashes, but you could tell it was the coaching. That didn't last, though, because of Kaepernick. In Kansas City and Washington, Smith was nice. Yeah, I just think that Carr's trajectory was a little bit different because it was like in terms of quarterback play, I think Carr was always pretty sound, and then Gruden came in and made him like uber efficient, like the way Mike described, but like he never had the coach or the supporting cast to really. I mean, they made the playoffs like twice in his tenure.
Yeah, I think Alex Smith going to Andy Reid really helped him because at that point with the Chiefs, and then you pass over to the Mahomes, and then you get Alex Smith to the Commanders, or I guess Washington Football Team, or whatever the fuck they were called at the time. Like at that time, I thought, wow, Alex Smith is like the perfect bridge quarterback. And then Derek Carr in his final stage with the Raiders, I felt like, wow, Derek Carr is the perfect bridge quarterback. But the problem is, I think Derek Carr identifies so strongly as the Raiders' leader and the face of the franchise that I think he would have to go through an ego death to be able to willingly accept, like, the Raiders picked this quarterback in the first round and he's going to supplant me. He's going to overtake me someday. Like, I don't think that would have ever worked. Not that he would have thrown a fit or whatever, but I don't know. It never made sense to me. So what made sense to me was we need to get rid of him. It's time to move on. He should be a bridge quarterback for another team. And that made sense to me with the Saints. But here we are.
Anthony says Carr should have stayed true to his word and retired. He said he wouldn't play for any team but us. His Saints tour hurt his legacy. Carr has made / received $200 million. Could have collected another 30 something to be quote unquote injured. Carr made $250 million. Yeah. What do you make of all that?
Well, I do believe he meant at the time that he wouldn't play for another team and he'd rather golf, I think is what he said. But I think, like many things in life, it's circumstantial. And I think once Josh McDaniels came into play and kicked him out, if you're in Carr's shoes, you've got to be sitting there going, well, I'm barely like 30. Like, I'm kind of still in my prime as a quarterback, or how maybe 32. I'm barely 32 years old. Like, I should absolutely still be a starter. I know I'm still a starter. Like, well, now I'm fired up. Like, I don't blame him at all for going and trying it out with another team. In fact, all the bullshit he went through with the Raiders, he should go to another team. Like, I felt like, man, if the Saints get it right, like, I could see him, boom, going straight to the playoffs with them. But it just didn't work out. And I don't blame him one bit.
Raider Nation 510 says, we kept Carr as our starting quarterback too many years. I agree with that. The only time Carr pushed the needle was when he had quarterback competition. There were games that he should have gotten benched. I mean, who was he competing with at the time?
Yeah, I mean, the only competition I can ever remember is Matt Schaub, who he beat out in his rookie year. And then the only other guy who might be worth mentioning is Marcus Mariota, but I always felt like that was an interesting backup choice by Gruden, but never he might push Carr type of move for Gruden, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think but to that final statement, there were games he should have gotten benched. Yeah. I Derek Carr's final pass is an interception against the Steelers, I think on Christmas or near Christmas. Um that was one of the worst games I had ever seen from a quarterback. Uh like at that game, I was legitimately like, I'm done. Get him out of here. Like I love him to death, but I was like, I can't do this anymore, dude. I need to just move on and move towards the next great quarterback for this franchise because this isn't getting it done. And then the fucking that Wednesday, it was like, yep, Derek Carr's benched. It was like, yeah, that makes sense. And contractually, to the whole point of like, oh, he won't play for another team, and he didn't let us trade him. Contractually, he negotiated a no trade clause, which that was him trying to leverage, I'm never going to leave here. But then Josh McDaniels came in because bear in mind when he made that contract, it was with Gruden, I want to say. No, it had to be. Yeah, it was with Gruden and Mayock in their final year. And then everything happened with Gruden. He leaves. Mayock stays, for the rest of that year with Bazakia, but then they don't keep them. Then comes in the new regime. And then they were all talking about like, yeah, we're excited about Derek Carr. And I remember he still had at least 2 years left in his contract, if not 3. I want to say it was 3, but you had like the option or, certain deadlines to meet before guarantees kick in. After that first year, it was, yeah, this isn't working. Get out of here. That because of because Derek Carr allowed those those dates for guarantees to kick in, that's what did him in. That's where he lost his leverage. The Raiders at that point are really not the Raiders, but Dave Ziegler and specifically Josh McDaniels didn't give a fuck about trading him for any draft capital. If they could have, yeah, they would have loved to. But Derek Carr leveraged the no trade clause, so, well, by this date, March 16th, whatever it was, we have to cut him. That's it. And that's how it went. Because Derek Carr lost his leverage.
Mm-hmm. Let me quickly go over a couple things that I wanted to touch on the Derek Carr topic. But he retired after an 11-year career, and he was the closest thing the Raiders have had to quarterback stability since Rich Gannon. That's still true, except because there hasn't been football played this year. We'll find out with Geno. But he leads the following categories all time for the Raiders. In these following categories: passing yards with 35,222 passing yards. Passing touchdowns. He has. Hold on, go ahead.
Sorry, 35,222 passing yards. The next closest is Ken Stabler with 19,078 yards. Like, he has almost double the next highest guy.
He shattered it.
Continue. Yeah.
So, passing touchdowns, 217. What's the next closest, Mike?
Next closest is also Ken Stabler with 150.
Mm-hmm. Completions, 3,201. But also the attempts were also a lot more too. With 49,058.
He has more than double.
4,958. Sorry.
He has more than double the attempts and completions than any of the next closest guy.
Mm-hmm. Just to repeat that, 4,958 attempts, which is the most.
Yeah. So he had 217 touchdowns. I'm assuming passing,
yes,
and
passing
99
touchdowns.
Interceptions with the Raiders. What I was laughing about earlier with Ken Stabler, rightfully a Hall of Famer. He had 150 passing touchdowns with the Raiders. He had 143 interceptions with the Raiders.
Yeah.
I would have never guessed, dude. Ken Stabler was almost a 50-50 passing touchdown and interceptions guy. In fantasy football, we would have shat all over him. We would have been, oh my god, like Jameis Winston. Like, that's Jameis Winston, but like, take away 15 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. So Derek Carr also played the 5th most games in Raider history, regardless of position.
Wow, I'm really curious who the top 4 are. One of them's Janikowski. One of them's Leckler.
Here, let me pull.
I'd love to know the list. Oh,
Derek
Tim Brown.
All right.
Don't name him. I want to guess him. Let's play a game. Sorry.
Okay. You know what? All right. So I looked up passing. So hold on. I might be wrong. Because it might not have all the players. I think it just has all the players that have registered a passing stat.
Okay.
So don't quote me on that.
All good.
Who played? So he has the 5th most games played for a Raider who recorded a passing stat. At least let me see if I can't find a list for that. Let's see who played the most games for the Raiders. Okay.
Damn it.
I've got.
Let me know.
I've got the list, and hold on.
I'm gonna knock this shit out of the park.
All right. How many? Okay. He's definitely not the 5th most.
Okay.
He might be the 26th most.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that checks out because 9 seasons. Damn. So I just want to find the top 5.
Okay. I've got the top 5 pulled up.
Okay, are Janikowski and Leckler in there?
Janikowski is in there.
Not Leckler.
Not Leckler. He's
Tim Brown.
He's number 7. So Tim
Oh,
Brown,
fuck.
yes.
I don't think Howie Long had that long of a career.
No, Howie Long's number 13.
13, okay. Just pulling this out of my ass. Steve Wisniewski.
He's number 8.
Jim Otto.
He's number 4.
Fuck yeah. Let's go. Art Shell.
He's number 6.
Wow. Gene Upshaw.
Yep.
That's 4 out of 5?
It's 4 out of 5.
Who am I missing? Number 3?
You're missing number 5.
Number 5. Is it a name that you know? Cliff Branch.
No.
Long history.
I do see you guys in the chat. I'll give you a thumbs up when one of you guys gets it.
Yeah, it's not Bo Jackson. He played too short of a career. Ken Stabler played with like the Oilers and Saints. It's not him. Marcus Allen.
No.
He played for the Chiefs. No.
Marcus Allen is number 25. He's at 145 games. Derek Carr had 142.
Yeah. Okay, so just to recap, Janikowski, is he number 1?
Janikowski's number 1.
Tim Brown, number 2?
Tim Brown's number 2.
We had Arshell was number 6. Gene Upshaw.
Gene Upshaw's number 3.
Damn, and then who was number 4 was
the Ultimate Raider.
Who was number 4? Oh, Tim. Who the fuck?
Jim Otto.
Oh, okay, cool. Jim Otto. Thank you. See, like, I would ask, like, oh, what position? But, no, I don't want to do that. It's not Lester Hayes?
Nope. Where is Lester Hayes? Let's see.
I'm just trying to think of, like, long-term...
Lester Hayes is number 24.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think long-term Raiders.
Let me know when you want me to just spoil it.
Yeah, give me, like, 20 more seconds. I don't want to take too long here. I should just spit out names, really. It can't be Willie Brown. He played for the Broncos.
Willie Brown was number 23. It's not Cliff Branch. He's number 12.
Yeah, okay. Oh, no, I don't think he had that long of a career. Fred Biletnikoff?
No.
Damn. I'm probably forgetting some super obvious Hall of Famer. Do
you want me to give you the first initial of his last name?
No. It's not Charles Woodson.
No. Charles Woodson is
he had too long
number 21.
Career. And this is number 5.
This is number 5.
And it's not Howie Long.
It's not Jim Plunkett, Papa J.
It's Clive Wolford.
I wish.
It's not Jack Tatum. It's not. Oh, of course I'm forgetting his name. Number 43, the other safety, George Atkinson. It's not.
It's not Jack Tatum, Raider Nation.
Yeah, it's not Jack Tatum.
It's not Jason Tatum either.
No, it's never gonna be. Damn, long term. I'm just thinking like 60s, 70s, 80s. It's not Lincoln Kennedy, right?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
You know this guy.
He's not recent, right?
No.
Okay.
Kenny 49ers. Oh, Kenny 49ers back in the chat. I'm so sorry. My computer crashed earlier. I know you had a couple comments that we were looking forward to getting to. Welcome to the Silver and Gold podcast channel. Yeah, that sucked. That has never happened before. I've had my Wi-Fi go out and then, it'll come back. It came back in. That only happened once. My freaking computer crashed. What a first impression we gave to Kenny 49ers. Right now, Mike is trying to figure out the 5th all-time, Raider in terms of games played. Because he's named every single one except for this guy.
Okay, is it either of the tight ends? Is it Dave Casper or Todd Christensen?
No.
It's Brock Bowers.
It's Jamarcus Russell.
No. Maybe someday it'll be Max Crosby.
Yeah, but
I don't think anybody's beating Janikowski.
Kenny 49ers got it. It's Turd Ferguson. No, kidding.
Wow. Okay, go ahead and give me the initial. This is gonna piss me off.
The last name starts with a G. Mike, you know this guy.
G. See, now I don't want to look at the screen in case somebody got it. G. Wow. God. It's God.
So Kenny 49ers.
It's not Gannon.
What the question is? No, it's not. It's not Gannon. The question is, so Mike wanted to name the top 5 Raiders who have played the most games for the franchise, and he's got the top 4. He just doesn't know who number 5 is. He's literally named almost all the players in the top 25, but he just can't get number 5 because. And the reason why this stemmed, we're talking about Derek Carr and his tenure. I think Derek Carr is he's easily top 30 in games played. But in terms of players who have completed a pass or registered any passing stat for the Raiders, he's top 5 in that category of games played. It's not Charlie Garner.
G.
Come on, Mike. Are you even a real fan?
Yeah. It's Richard Seymour. G. Oh my God. I can't.
It's not Rich Gannon. It's not Kevin Gogan. It's not Jeff George.
Like.
You know what? You know what's great? You know what's great? What if
nobody
this player?
knows.
What if this is like a typo or something, and this player?
Oh,
didn't...
hell yeah!
Oh, somebody got it. Somebody got it. Kenny 49ers got it.
And I was.
Dude, I gave you the answer. I gave you the answer.
Yeah.
I go, you know this guy. I'm like,
oh, nice.
Come on, Mike, you know this guy.
Yeah, sorry. I had it in the right mindset with Shane Leckler. Like, I knew special teams, and I thought, like, quickly, I was like, any other special teamers? Nah, I can think of any. And then just kept going. But I was thinking kickers. Yeah, greatest punter all time. Makes sense.
Ray Guy. Just when you think you know a guy.
Yeah.
So, um, in terms of however many games that he played, for a quarterback, I think Derek Carr played um, the most for a quarterback, and Ken Stabler I think was at 130 games. Um, and Derek Carr had significantly less interceptions than Ken Stabler and Daryl LaMonica, despite playing more games and attempting more than 200, no, sorry, 2,500 more passes than these two quarterbacks. Also, Derek Carr, in my opinion, was not the best quarterback, but he was solid. And the only time that I felt like he was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL was 2016, which was a magical season for the Raiders and Raider fans. You know, they finished that year 12-4. They exceeded expectations and unfortunately had to suffer. Unfortunately, Carr had to suffer that injury, and he finished third in MVP voting that year. It was honestly like there was a point like I mean, because the Niners sucked, and I still wanted to watch good football. I didn't root for the Raiders, but I was like happy for my friends that like know nothing but garbage football their whole life. Growing up in the Bay Area, I grew up with Niner fans, Raider fans, and then weird people. Um, but I just felt happy that they could experience good football because for the years leading up to that, I got that experience. They never did, at least around my age. Um, so beyond 2016, I felt that Carr was never truly the same quarterback. Mike mentioned that he was a little bit more efficient with John Gruden, but I felt like Carr would sometimes hear footsteps in the pocket or just kind of be uncomfortable in the pocket. But it could also be that his teams were never truly as good, and that's including the offensive line because he had a kick-ass line in 2016.
Yeah.
And then Carr, I mean, he had a great arm, and I think he was a great leader, especially when speaking to the media, and he seemed to be great with his teammates. However, like Raider Nation 510 said, I felt like it was time for the Raiders to move on, from Derek Carr when they did, because I feel like once you lose so much, and Mike, I've talked to you about this, and have so many losing seasons, once you face adversity, I just think it becomes like a more of a habit of like, all right, shit's going bad. This is just another bad game or another lost season, you know? Um, and I think that like it's hard for it to not become a habit of just like swallowing defeat and learning to live with it, you know? And I think you had like a counterpoint to where, Carr was crying. Uh, I forget after which game that you mentioned, about how it means so much to him and how he just wants to win. Um,
Yeah, they might have been like eliminated from the playoffs or something. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just a tough loss, but
but yeah,
something happened.
yeah. Josh Jacobs talked about like the loser mindset, recently on a podcast, and he said like when he first got to the Raiders, they lost, and he was very upset, and how people in the locker room were like, uh, you got to get used to it. Like this is the NFL. You're not going to win. And I mean, he didn't mention Carr or any specific names about that, but I just kind of felt like you know, once you have that mindset, it's hard to go back. You know, it's rare
Yeah.
for a loser, not a loser, but a losing mentality to be reversed. It takes great coaching, I think. You know,
Yeah.
and just reestablishing the
I
culture.
yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest one. They never got to establish a culture because every 2 years they were firing their coach. Um, I and you got to bear in mind like when Josh Jacobs was drafted, that was on the cusp or the very beginning of John Gruden's rebuild. Like they were expecting to lose. I don't know. I get it from his perspective. I'm not mad at it all. Like I appreciate it. Like in hindsight, like hearing him and others speak about Josh Jacobs. I know we're talking about Carr right now, but like Josh Jacobs sounds like the type of guy you want in your locker room. And the Raiders certainly lost a great asset in him a couple years ago by letting him walk. You know, Dave Ziegler, uh, Josh McDaniels.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
By
no,
the
no,
way,
sorry, that was Telesco. Anyways,
just for clarification, Papa J was the one who got it first in the chat. I just saw that. I think I might have given the credit to Kenny 49ers. You give a free giveaway of a thumbs up, buddy. uh, you guys both get thumbs up. It like came in at the same time. But
can I read Daryl's comment really quick?
yes,
Derek Carr, a bust for more than 10 years, never won an MVP award nor a Super Bowl. LOL. Now let me, I, Daryl. This is. I mean, I was laughing reading it, and no, I'm indifferent. But also I'm gonna try it in a Donald Trump voice this time. Derek Carr, a bust for more than 10 years, never won an MVP award nor Super Bowl. Thank
everybody's
you.
laughing at you, Derek. Everybody,
Yeah.
everyone point and laugh at Derek.
Quite frankly, he fucking sucks.
Quite frankly, he's never been great. Only I'm great. Yeah. The I think let's see. In terms of Carr being a bust for more than 10 years, all right, I'd say most players in the NFL, whether they're a bust or not, don't win an MVP award nor a Super Bowl. Like it's you'd actually be kind of shocked at like how many players don't win a ring. Cuz Tom
In,
Brady has them all.
in all honesty, for where Derek Carr was drafted, early second round, like Derek Carr was drafted in 2014 the way that Tyler Shuck was drafted this year by the Saints. Just six picks apart. Like, does anybody expect Tyler Shuck to go out there and become the Saints' all-time leading passer? Have a almost MVP season and lead the Saints to the playoffs twice? The answer is fuck no. What Derek Carr did in his career with the Raiders is rare for players that are drafted at his location in the draft, which would bring you to like a Jalen Hurts. Like Jalen Hurts is the shining golden trophy of second round quarterbacks. You know, like it just doesn't happen that often. So me personally, like looking back on Derek Carr, I have fond feelings. I will always hold true that my taste for him soured. Pause. Over time, but uh, but I always will appreciate him, and I think I will always look back and say that was a good time, and like he brought out good memories. All the comebacks. Pause. All the all the fourth quarter comebacks, like those were great. So
Hmm. Where I feel
I
like
this
the Raiders messed up was like in terms of moving on from Derek Carr, just to kind of finish up that point. I just felt like they messed up by never replacing Carr. And now I'd say they have their replacement with Geno Smith, but I mean, we just have to see how that goes and how he does.
Yeah, I mean, I, Josh McDaniels thought that I guess Jimmy Garoppolo was going to make this work, and in theory that made sense, I guess. But to your point, yes, the Raiders, if they knew that they were going to move off of Derek Carr, they should have drafted a quarterback ahead of time. But I honestly believe that there was a part of McDaniels and Ziegler that wanted Carr to work, which would kind of make sense in them getting Devonte Adams, Uh, but then it didn't work, so they moved off of him, and that was within one off season of them getting there. So it kind of makes sense that they didn't prep for Derek Carr. to leave, in large part because that regime was stupid. So there's not much else to say there. Just a smart franchise would have prepped for that, but at the same time, like a lot of franchises don't. Like the Saints didn't really prep for Drew Brees to leave. The Steelers didn't prep for Roethlisberger to leave. The only team that I can think of that's really good at doing it is the fucking Packers.
The
Other than
Saints
that, like
Saints still haven't replaced freaking Roethlisberger.
they never will. No, you said the Saints still haven't replaced Roethlisberger.
Sorry, the Steelers, my bad.
They never will.
I thought you were talking. I thought you I was like
shit.
I was like, what's so funny? Like I was like, wow, Mike really hates the Steelers. I fucking said I didn't even know I said the Saints.
Yeah, I know. I was just fucking with you.
I was like, damn, Mike doesn't fucking believe in Pittsburgh. He's really low on them.
Yeah, they never will. No, but clearly the Steelers are having a hard time with that. I don't know, just a lot of these teams that get their franchise quarterbacks, it's either, like I said, the Packers did a good job. The Chiefs did it properly with the bridge quarterback, draft a guy when your team is built up a little bit better. Like they were a playoff team with Alex Smith. The Chiefs did it the way that I want the Raiders to do it. I want Geno Smith to be the next Alex Smith. And then I want their next quarterback that they draft in a year from now or 2 years from now to be the next great thing. That's what I want. Otherwise, you're probably a team like the Texans or the Bengals or the Jaguars. And, Trevor Lawrence hasn't overly impressed me yet, but the Cardinals, who earned the first or second overall pick because your team fucking sucks. Like, there was no quarterback to replace. The reason why you have a franchise quarterback is because you sucked. So yeah, I'd rather be the team that like builds, gets better, plays good, and properly replaces the bridge quarterback with the quarterback of the future when the team is good. So,
all in all, I think for the most part, Derek Carr was one of the few bright spots that the Raiders actually had over the past 2 decades, despite never truly emerging as a superstar. And I think that he deserves to be remembered as a part of Raiders history.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah. I honestly, there was a part of me, this would be my last thing on Derek Carr. This went longer than I thought it would. I'm sorry.
It's been a great
topic
so far.
Oh, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was a little bummed when he just dropped the news, like, yeah, I'm retiring on, like, Twitter, whatever he did. I think because of the timing of it, of, like, this is post-draft, like, usually you retire in, like, March. The fact that this was post-draft and he was still under contract with the Saints makes it kind of awkward, but, like, there was a big part of me that was like, it would have been cool if he retired as a Raider, because then that would be, like, the not soft, but, like, the firm transition of, like, all right, he's back, As the Derek Carr fan, obviously Raider fan in me, like, I want to see him come back and just be able to, not necessarily like help or anything like that, but just, every year, like when you see alumni, I want to see Derek Carr there, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like Derek Carr is gonna get a job analyzing football for like ESPN or something. I could see it.
I could definitely see it. I could also just see him being a pastor, how do you say it? And just kind of mostly, lending into his faith, but every here and there, like I said, alumni stuff showing up for the Raiders.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's get to some comments, and then we can move on to our next topic. Raider Nation 510 says, we avoided a big contract with Josh Jacobs and were gifted Ashton Gianti by the football gods.
Yeah, the only negative is, utilizing the sixth overall pick for that, but I think it's in theory it's very much worth it, and I agree with that statement.
Mm. Raider Nation 510 also says Tyler Shook low key looks like a solid quarterback. I agree if you're talking about a Disney movie casting.
Yeah, I haven't watched enough Shuck to act like I know really well on him. It's just I've seen some fucking hilariously bad throws from him. But I've also heard that he was like arguably the most pro-ready quarterback in the class. So it could go either way and make sense to me.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. Uh, Geno Smith. Kenny 49er says Geno in a dome will be nice. Raiders had a nice draft, by the way, says Kenny 49ers. I
Thank you.
thought Pittsburgh would have done their first losing season last season. Yeah, it's never
I
going to happen. Mike
yeah.
Tomlin is going to be, he's going to be like 90 years old and with no losing seasons.
Yeah, he's gonna be sitting in at like on his deathbed. He will have just retired 5 years prior at a whopping 947 and 945 win record. Like just 2 games above 500, basically.
Mm-hmm. Uh, Daryl says Aaron Oldie Rogers is still sitting on a fat goose egg. No other team wants to sign him.
I never. Do you have a point first, actually?
Well, I just find it crazy how OTAs didn't they start today? Or
Yeah, I mean, some OTA started a week or two ago.
and the Steelers are seriously not gonna like they still don't have a fucking quarterback. They have Mason Rudolph.
They have Mason Rudolph and Will Howard.
Oh, I forgot about that. All
Yeah,
right.
but Will Howard was like a 6th round pick. Like we were sitting here thinking, like, oh, he might be a third or fourth rounder. Like that would make sense of like a Dak Prescott. Like, oh wow, look at him. But 6th rounder, I don't really see it. But hey, we just saw Mr. Irrelevant get paid today, so anything can happen.
Will Howard was a national champion quarterback.
Yeah,
JJ
I
McCarthy
just
was
think,
literally labeled as not that good either in college, and he went in the first round.
yeah, yeah, I think. But if the Steelers were serious about Will Howard, they would have taken him earlier. In theory. Um, so I don't know. I just the thing to this point though about Aaron Rodgers, this was something I wanted to say months ago when the Raiders traded for Geno Smith, and it was like trying to weigh the positives and negatives about the trade and like giving up the 3rd round pick. Like in hindsight, post draft, it's like I don't even give a shit about that 3rd round pick. We got 2 bonus ones anyways. But the thing that I thought of like a day after our podcast, we talked about the Raiders trading for Geno Smith. Maybe even weeks afterwards, I was like, man, look at the Steelers and look at how annoying that was, especially in the moment, like live in that time when Aaron Rodgers was like fucking with the Vikings over here, and then he visited the Browns, and then he visited the Giants and the Steelers, and it was like you had these 4 teams who were like, you know, oh, we could really use Aaron Rodgers, and he was just kind of like, I don't know, you know, like my thought at that time was, dude, if we didn't trade for Geno Smith, we would have been one of those 4 teams and our fan base would have been going nuts about, oh, what's Aaron Rodgers going to do? And look at the Steelers. They're still sitting there potentially holding on to hope that he's still going to sign with them. Like, you know how stupid we would look right now if we were doing that? Fuck that. It was just a thing I've been holding on to for months of like, I'm so happy with the Geno Smith situation because it could be so much worse with Aaron Rodgers or waiting for Aaron Rodgers.
I just don't know why he doesn't retire, dude. Because it's like, if you
Yeah.
don't fully want to play football, then you probably shouldn't play football.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it just supports the claim or theory that he just likes the attention.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Like, oh, I'm Aaron Rodgers. Ooh. Uh, let's see. Tyler Shook. Never heard of him. He's Canadian. Eh. Oh, he's Canadian, eh? Let's see. Uh, Kenny 49er says, if I were the Steelers, I would just roll with Will Howard. The Steelers fans can deal with it after the catch or after the stretch that they've had. And Raider Nation 510 says Will Howard will win the Steelers job. Daryl says, I'm still thinking that Rodgers will sign with the Saints. I haven't even thought about that. That's good. That's a good point. Saints, Vikings, or some other team that needs a quarterback. Not sure if it will happen. Kenny 49ers also says, I think the Purdy deal was good because we just had the guy on the greatest contract in football. I think that he earned it, and I believe that we can cut him after 3 years. 181 million of the 265 is guaranteed. Yeah, I did notice that he didn't have like 200 million in guarantees. So I think we're gonna learn a lot about the details. I'm fine. Like, I think it's a little bit easier to think about it as like a 3 year deal, and if he's good, we can keep him for 5 years. You know?
yeah, I honestly, my question that I meant to ask earlier, but I figured there's no answer yet, is how far those guarantees go. Um, because one of two things. A, it's a positive because, oh, or I guess in theory, if the guarantees mostly go through the first 3 years, let's just say, and then like the last 2 years have hardly any guarantees. The positive for Niner fans is, oh yay, it kind of looks cheaper, and we can get out if we have to, and blah 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 blah. But also because it's cheap, if he's good, like it'll be worth it. Yada yada yada. The negative is what has happened with players like Max Crosby and Devonte Adams is like a lot of these contracts nowadays, 5 year deals, they're just 3 year deals that are like front loaded, which is why the players agree to them. And then once they get to that point in the contract that's just the filler final 2 years that are not guaranteed, they go, I'm not playing on that. So, I mean, 3 years, 180 million. What would that come out to? Is that 60?
Let's see. I'm pretty
It's probably
sure.
more like
Yeah.
100.
It's like,
Yeah. It's probably more like, say, over 3 years, it's probably more like 150, which would be 50 million per year. So 155, whatever. I don't know.
so
To get it up to
it'd be
53 per year.
60.33, but that's assuming that all the guarantees are within that
Yeah.
per
My guess would be
year.
like another 10 million per year the next 2 years. So like I said, like it probably does average to 53 million per year. But the point is, when he gets to year 3, he's going to be demanding a new contract if he's still worth it.
So think about this. Brock Purdy could technically be the quarterback for the next 4 years, right? Obviously, once for his rookie, the remaining year of his rookie deal, but some of the guarantees could also be in there, you know, with how they negotiated the contract with like a signing bonus, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So if you do 181 divided by 4, like let's just say they only plan to keep, the extension is really a 3 year deal, then that's 45.25, which is the number that I was looking for Brock Purdy.
And that's what the Raiders did with Max Crosby. They extended him, and technically the extension that they gave him, which this is I guess, did did they announce it as an extension for Purdy? Or they say, like, is it an extension or is it like signed a new deal?
Doesn't
It
matter.
doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. But basically, the way that they announced it for Max Crosby was Max Crosby's extension makes him the highest paid non quarterback in the league at that time. And then since then, Jamar Chase and Myles Garrett blew it out of the water. But 35 or $35 million per year. Wow, that's a lot of money. Well, that was only on the 3-year extension, but some of that money was put onto the current deal, which still had 2 years left. So really, it ends out like averaging to like 30 or something like that. That, to your point, basically teams do that. It's smart.
Mm-hmm. Papa J says guaranteed money is 181 million, including 165 in the first 3 years, 100 of it at signing.
So 165 first 3 years is 55 per year, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. And then
Which,
100
yeah.
million
So
at signing.
yeah. So I mean, if that's literally over 3 years, then what might end up happening is, we can say, oh, he got $53 million per year. Well, if he's worth it and he stays good, he stays as the franchise quarterback. In 3 years from now, after making 55 per year, or maybe four, whatever it is, 4 years from now, he will then demand, I have no more guarantees in my deal. I want a new deal. And then all of a sudden, he's going to be making $60 million per year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling it now.
Yeah.
Unless he gets cut.
So, Daryl says, I know Rodgers has some experience, but he's getting old and slow. Yeah, Rodgers is like an old nutsack. That's what he is now.
Please expand on that.
I don't like to expand on nutsacks. Maybe you do, but I'm okay. He's an old fart, is what I'm trying to say. Saints just improved the offensive line. Yeah, I think it was great for them to wait to get Derek Carr killed before improving their offensive line. But yeah, I mean, Rodgers could go there. Pete and Gino, not bad, says Kenny 49ers. He messes with the Raiders' vision, Mike. And
Yes,
Daryl says, so the Raiders pretty much took care of the quarterback issues. They drafted a good, decent running back, some decent wide receivers, and they have a good coach as well. Kenny 49ers says if Brock does well, they will just say it's because the easy schedule, though. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on how it looks. I do expect the 49ers to win some games. We will get to that topic, actually. I have not even seen the schedule yet. So let me kind of be a little bit more picky on the comments here. G Martinez tuning into the channel says big time. You know what? It's big time that you're tuning into the channel. How about that? I think that you were just announcing yourself here. Daryl says, Purdy didn't have a good season in 2024. He was sort of a dud from the start of 2024 season to begin with. Yeah, I kind of agree. And, if you want to rewind to the Brock Purdy topic that we talked about, I forget if it's even in this live stream or if it's in the live stream that happened 10 minutes before this one, before my computer crashed. But I did say if we get the 2024 Purdy, it's not worth the contract. But if we get 2022 and 2023, it's a no-brainer. So let's see. When they were 5-5, 2/3 of the way of the 24 season, their playoff chances were diminishing by every loss. Some of the players were getting hurt, says Daryl. Papa J says in 2025, he will get a base salary of $5.346 million, and that amount will be the cap hit per Google AI. Kenny says Brock is still the most efficient quarterback in the NFL since 2022. I'd say probably statistically, but that's kind of a Shanahan thing because even Jimmy was efficient and Jimmy was ass.
Who was efficient last year was Justin Herbert.
He was very efficient, except in that playoff game. Yeah. Papa J says 5.365 will be the cap hit for 2025 for Brock. Okay, so it's going to significantly jump up after that.
Yeah.
Kenny says the schedule looks great, but the looks can be deceiving. let's get one step closer to the schedule. Let's go to our next topic. Our next topic is going to be just a quick update about some Raiders front office moves.
Yes, indeed. Really quick, I just want to run through them. It all happened really quickly a couple weeks ago. um, let's see, what day? Looks like maybe May 2nd. Um, okay, from Albert Breer. These are just a couple of Raiders front office moves that they have made since really the draft. From Albert Breer, the Raiders are hiring Broncos director of college scouting Brian Stark as their new assistant GM, per source. Vegas GM John Spytek and Stark were together in Denver years ago. Let's see. From Tristan Kuhn, the Raiders have promoted Ben Chester to the team's assistant director of pro scouting after serving as a pro scout since 2014. And from Neil Stratton, all on X. Jonathan Stigall, who served as a national scout with the Jets last year, is headed to the Raiders as assistant director of college scouting. Highly respected by his peers, Stigall won 3 Bart List Awards for scouting excellence as voted on by active NFL scouts. A true scouting lifer, he is also evaluated for the Browns, Eagles, Dolphins, and Bears. um, he also tweets, Sean Herrick is on the move after serving as Raiders senior personnel advisor this season. A veteran of NFL front offices, Herrick previously served in key roles with the Browns, Packers. He's on the move. Where the fuck? It doesn't say where he's going. Or I guess he's just leaving the Raiders. But that was a name that I had kind of known for a while, Sean Herrick. So now he's out of the building. The fallout from the Raiders' new administration continues as Curtis Knox will not return as personnel coordinator in Las Vegas. And then continuing on. New Raiders exec, this is from Albert Breer. Anthony Patch and general manager John Spytek spent 5 years together as young scouts in Philadelphia. Sorry. I don't think I announced Anthony Patch yet. Anthony Patch joined the Las Vegas Raiders as a senior personnel executive. And obviously he worked with Spytek on the Eagles for years. And then just a day ago, the Raiders are hiring Brandon Hunt to be their VP of player personnel. He previously served as the senior director of scouting for the Eagles. That's the biggest one. That has to be the biggest one. Again, previously served as the senior director of scouting for the Eagles. He is now the VP of player personnel.
Why
All
didn't
this
they?
to say,
Why didn't they announce this before, or why didn't they hire these guys before the draft?
it probably has to do with their contracts with their previous teams. They make NFL free agency so like widespread known and televised for players, but like coaches contracts, scouts contracts, all those things, like we don't have any real clue on that shit, to be honest with you. And I wish that there were people in the media who would like focus more on that, because really us diehard fans, we eat that shit up, you know. But maybe I think it's part of probably, if they have one, their unions, like obviously the players union or players association, whatever you call it, like that's part of it. So maybe for whatever reason it's not publicized, you know. But to the point of all this, basically, John Spytek post draft has now built, I think, his front office more to the vision that he wants it to be, which is just bringing in guys that know their stuff. Like, just point being, the Raiders front office has only gotten better since the draft, and that is amazing because I felt like they had a good draft. I feel pretty damn good with John Spytek right now, and now he's bringing in guys like, you know, the the director of scouting from the Eagles. Like, yeah, that sounds great to me.
Hmm. Um, yeah, I mean that was my question. I think we're ready to move on. Can I get? I will get to these uh, comments before I turn it over. Kenny says we can't forget that the Niners had a decimating season, not just because of injuries, but because of an infant passing away. Weren't there two? Didn't didn't Trent Williams also experience? No, maybe it was just Charvarius Ward, but something
I
did
remember
happen.
something with Trent Williams. I remember
Something did
something.
happen with Trent Williams, which
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm forgetting, but I yeah. Uh, and our first pick getting shot. Also, people holding out, not attending OTAs. Yeah, I think God was not a fan of the 49ers in 2025. It was that. I mean, that was pretty
Four.
rough. Like 2020. The Super Bowl hangover that year was more injuries and stuff. This year was just like, yeah, everything outside of football, whatever can go wrong, did go wrong. You know? And Kenny says, the locker room must have been a rough atmosphere. Yeah, I couldn't imagine it like people were necessarily having so much fun showing up to work every day when, like, hey, people are fucking dying, getting shot. Like, it was just bad. It was bad. My heart goes out to, Charvarius Ward's, daughter and his entire family. I can't imagine, you know. And Trent Williams' twins. Can you elaborate on that, Kenny? Of what happened? Oh, let's see. Yes, on Trent, his unborn child passed away. Yeah.
Mm.
See, that that's also rough. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, Not to switch the subject, but Kenny also says Chip Kelly, John Spytek, Pete Carroll, and Tom Brady is a good start for the Raiders. Daryl calls it the Four Horsemen. Uh, Kenny says reminds him of the wrestlers. Daryl says he likes the Packers picks. They were all decent. Never thought they'd draft a wide receiver who ran a 4.29 40 in the first round of the NFL draft. Yeah, them and drafting receivers in the first round. I mean, go buy a lottery ticket. That never happens. Speaking of things that never happen, it's not every day that an NFL team will sell off, you know, part of their share. Mike, what happened here? The Yorks did sell 6% of the 49ers. What was the price?
Per Sportico, according to David Lombardi, 49ers owner Jed York has agreed to sell about 6% of the team to three Bay Area families. I'd love to know which families. Uh, at a valuation over. I still am confused on this. It says at a valuation over 8.5 billion.
Yes.
Oh, but it says means the 49ers will raise over 500 million. So I'm assuming 6%.
Yes. So
6% of that is 500 million
they're
or
valuing the 49ers. So when you like sell off part of a business, you value
right.
the
You
entire
multiply it.
business.
Yeah.
So essentially they're saying the 49ers are worth 8.5 billion. So they're
Right.
they're willing to sell off 6%, so that's what, 510 million around
Yeah.
there?
There you go. Yeah. Oh, apparently. Yeah. I don't know the math on 6% of 8.5 billion, but we'll say it's 510 million.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, it's that I believe what yeah, $8.5 billion is also the highest valuation for any pro sports team ever.
In terms of being sold or what?
Just well, based off of this 6% stake,
Valuation.
the valuation is estimated at 8.5 billion, which would be the highest for any sports team ever.
I all right, all right. What are the Warriors currently worth?
That's a great question.
The Warriors are currently valued at 9.4 billion. So either David Lombardi's doing it again, just propping up the Niners, or what he means to say is that it's the highest valuation for any team that has sold any percentage,
Maybe.
which probably makes sense.
I'm just reading the tweet.
Because if the Warriors are currently valued at 9.4 billion and they haven't sold, like the Warriors, I mean, I'm no mathematician, but 9.4 is greater than 8.6 or whatever, 8 point whatever billion.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I mean, in terms of the I guess the importance of this or anything to really take away, it really makes you wonder of them selling this, the Yorks being invested in Leeds United, and I think they're also invested in another team. There was speculation that they might be cash poor because they're cutting back on spending, right?
Mm.
Is it a coincidence that Brock Purdy's contract got announced very shortly after this got announced? Maybe the Yorks needed some cash to pay the guarantees. They could be rich because the Niners are worth that much money, but they might not have that cash flow on hand.
Right. That's a fair point.
That could be why they cut players like Leonard Floyd. Because they knew that they were going to have to spend cash. That's why people were talking about them potentially trading Ayuk. Because they didn't want to pay him the cash that he was guaranteed. They have over $100 million in dead cap. I think.
Yep.
I believe. Somebody double check that for me. Kenny 49ers says Joe Montana owns a piece of the Niners also. Does he? I didn't even know that. I thought it was just the Yorks that owned 100% of it, honestly. Consider me a bad fan for not knowing that. But yeah, that's really, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. Like, they're not bringing in a Tom Brady like the Raiders did, somebody who really, I guess, knows the ins and outs of the NFL. But they might bring in somebody else who knows a little bit about business. Like, I mean, they only purchased 6%, so this is merely like an investment. The only thing that makes sense to me as to why they sold is because they need cash right now. Why would you want to sell? I mean, the NFL has been growing so much over the past several years. Why would you want to sell a percentage of something that's continuing to grow? Like, maybe, like, if they would have waited 10 years, do you not think that it's going to grow? I just don't know. It's kind of interesting to me. And what happened to the whole Jed York buying out the share from his parents, and him fully owning the team? Mike, how many things come out about the Niners that, like, just kind of don't make sense sometimes?
Yeah. It's not just the Niners. I mean, the Raiders, we know how the Raiders are too. But no, it definitely does happen here and there for the Niners.
Mm-hmm. For the Niners, it's more off the field stuff, and then the brain scratching stuff on the field is like when they're up 10 in the fourth quarter. That's when it's like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. But Kenny says every team is going to sell 10%. The Niners are actually already sold 9%. I did not know that. If you guys didn't know, Charles Woodson also just purchased 0.1% of the Raiders.
Browns.
Oh, of the Browns.
Yeah. Sorry, not to. I didn't realize you were comment or reading a comment. I was correcting the statement, not any specific person. Um. Yeah. No, it was a 0.1 percentage stake of the Browns that Charles Woodson purchased. I wish it was the Raiders. I think that would have been cool if Charles Woodson got in on all this with Tom Brady, Richard Seymour, so forth. But he is an Ohio native, so it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Daryl says Matthew Golden could have been picked by any team in the draft. I really didn't think that the Packers selected him. It blew my mind when they mentioned his name.
Uh, sorry, just continue.
But yeah, Joe Montana owns a piece of the 49ers. I think the Cowboys are worth the most. It says Kenny 49ers. Does Jerry Jones own 100%, or does he also, like, did he sell a portion of his? I just don't get it, man.
Right.
Papa J says
I
it
think
takes money to make more money.
Yeah, I think the valuation of teams, obviously, if you sell a stake, that's the easiest way to find out, like, well, what's the valuation overall? But I think also, like, Forbes or whoever also puts out lists, like, every year, like, estimating the value of teams. So, I don't know.
Why use your own money when you can use someone else's money to make you more money? Well, I guess why rely on somebody else's money and give somebody a cut of the pie when you can have 100% of the pie and just use your own money? The only way that makes sense to me is if you don't have enough money to make the pie bigger for yourself. You know? Let's see. Tom Brady had helped to purchase his shares of the team with the group called the Nighthead Capital. Yeah, I don't know that much about the investment side, of the NFL. Just something that I thought it was interesting when it was linked to the Purdy deal, and then also just I feel like 6%. It's a good sizable, tiny little chunk. I know that was a very counterintuitive sentence, but yeah. There's probably hidden agreements between all the parties that benefited through all through different endeavors not mentioned. Raider Nation 510 says Raiders are on a great path. Kenny 49ers says, oh, my bad. Oh, for the Browns thing. Charles Woodson still needs to get voted in by the NFL, says Raider Nation 510. Kenny says, I don't know if Dallas has sold yet, but I would bet money they will. Raider Nation 510 says, Jerry's World got plenty of money. See, that's my point. It's, you can just spend your own money and take 100% of the profit.
Yeah, I'm sure there are rules and whatnot. I don't know how it works. I'm not even going to try to act like I know how it works. I will say to the point of Charles Woodson, he needs to get voted in. Also, he had to agree to discontinue his likeness being a part of any alcohol or any branding that he has outside of the NFL, which he has his Woodson whiskey, which actually is partnered with the Raiders. It's like the whiskey of the Raiders. So, and I've always wanted to try it, but now either he'll have to sell that or um, change the name of the whiskey brand because he can't have his name on it.
That's weird. I wonder how much a point of a percent gets you.
I think it was 5 million, a little over $5 million.
Why couldn't Mark Davis have cut Charles Woodson a deal? Like it just kind of feels it feels a little bit weird. Like I wonder how much money he's going to end up making out of it. I mean,
Well, yeah, I
he
mean,
can always sell his stake when it's higher, and then he can reassociate with the Raiders.
it's if I were Charles Woodson and I could put, if I had the money, $5.5 million into being a part owner of an NFL team, that's the easiest fucking $5.5 million I will ever spend. You know, for one, the valuation is only going to go up. Could it go down? Yeah, but it's not. I'm sorry. Um, but also you're a part owner of a team. Like, bow down to me. That'd be crazy to say.
I'd say let's
Anyways,
talk about something we understand a little bit more.
yeah.
Uh, oh,
Um,
but real quick,
do we have a
la,
do we have a
last con-
private chat?
just text me.
Okay.
But Papa J says I could probably afford 0.00000000001% of the Niners. I think I probably could too. I hope. Let's see. Kenny 49er says, Mike, I'm guessing you already know about the John Madden movie. And Kenny 49er also says Green Bay sells shares to all fans. I do like that it's like a publicly owned, it's like owned by the community in Green Bay. I think that's cool.
Oh, I love the Green Bay aspect to ownership. And I knew that there was something that we forgot to talk about, which is the John Madden and Al Davis show or movie that's coming to Amazon. With I remember when it was announced. I don't think we talked about it then. We might have quickly, but Nicolas Cage as John Madden, which was the craziest casting I've heard in a while, and Christian Bale. I don't even remember hearing about this, but Christian Bale as Al Davis, and they just released the first photo of them, and holy shit. Like, the more I look at it, the more I think Nicolas Cage actually does look good. I saw my dad showed me another photo of him as Madden today, and it looked even better. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Um,
Christian Bale as
but
Al Davis.
Christian Bale as Al Davis is spot on, and we know Christian Bale. He's gonna kill it. He's gonna absolutely nail it. He's gonna be in there talking about the greatness of the Raiders is in its future. Just, the fire that burns brightest is the will to win. Like, he will be all in on it. It's gonna be insane.
Where the
He's gonna be like,
fuck? Where is Will? We need Will. We need Patrick Bateman right now.
yeah,
We need
yeah.
Will.
He's gonna be like in the Al Davis voice, going, "Where were the other drugs going? Um, where's Rachel?"
Where's the Raiders schedule? I have not taken a look at either of these schedules. We're going to start with the Raiders, and then we'll work to the team that's actually going to win games this year. No, I'm just kidding. Not kidding. But Mike,
Do you need me to send me a? Do you need me to send you a photo?
no, let me just look it up. Raiders schedule 2025. I have not seen this. I haven't even pulled it up for the topic yet. But we're gonna we're gonna quickly, I guess, live react to it. Okay. Maybe let me pull up Raiders.com so that way I can get a better look at it. Okay. So it starts off. I'm just gonna quickly name the preseason. Seattle, 49ers, in Arizona. Um, are the ones in white? Are they home or no? No, the ones
Away.
in white are away.
We can't put this on the screen.
Let me try. I know I can.
Just for visual reference would really help.
Here, let me do this. Let me do a browser. All right. Tell me if you can see Raiders.com. Let me try and interact with it.
I do see it.
Hold on. Let me delete this. Remove. I'll just do a window capture of this. Bear with us, guys. Bear with us. Okay, window capture. Select a window. No. No, that's not what I want either. Come on. There we go. Got it.
Here we go.
All right, where am I going to put this so it doesn't fucking... I guess I can block us, huh?
Yeah.
All right. We're looking at the Raiders schedule now.
All right. So white is away, and then gray is at home. And like you said, it was Seattle, and then Niners, and then Cardinals in the preseason. We will get another Raiders versus Niners preseason game in Vegas, week 2. That'll be good for the pod.
Let me try and fit. Can I put this so it's not freaking... There we go.
Oh, yeah.
So we can still see those.
Honestly, just get rid of the Raiders schedule. Just like where it says Raiders schedule. Just go, yeah, like that.
Hell yeah.
Make it super thin, and then you could even fit it like over the silver and gold words. You might just get on the top. You could still see us.
Yeah, but that way we can still see the live chat in the corner.
Oh, true. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Week 1. I can kind of take it if you want.
Yeah.
And we can react as we go. Week 1, September 7th, we got the Patriots in Foxborough, 10 a.m. Pacific. As far as the Week 1 matchup, I mean, I just got done talking a bunch about Josh McDaniels and the Derek Carr and everything. This is a Raiders versus Josh McDaniels revenge game. Week 1, I think both teams are in a similar place as far as like maybe the overall expectation for them this year of like, oh, that team's going to be better. Oh, that offense is going to be better. I think it's a really good week 1 game of like, just starting the season against somebody who's probably on the same playing field as you, right? And you also have the intrigue of Josh McDaniels. Week 2.
I give the Raiders that one.
I would like to, yeah. I think with Pete Carroll as head coach, I mean, the Patriots still have a young quarterback, although he does look pretty good. Of course, I'm forgetting his name. Drake May. They did improve their receiver room. They improved their running back room. I'm curious about their offensive line. And then really, I couldn't name somebody on their defense other than, I can name a couple. Fucking Christian Gonzalez, and I want to say Barmore is their D tackle. But I'm definitely curious how their defense will play under Mike Vrabel. I think.
Now, huh?
Yeah, no, it's also really it's besides the Bears head coach. Of course, I'm forgetting his name.
Ben Johnson.
These are the. Thank you, Ben Johnson. Like those are the 3 head coach candidates that I wanted. It was Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, Pete Carroll. So We get to play both of those coaches this season. Um, on to week 2. You have the Chargers on Monday Night Football, the second of 2 Monday Night Football games in week 2. I don't know what the first game is, but the second game will be at 7 p.m. Pacific time, again, against the Chargers at home. So the home opener for the Raiders is here, week 2,
Damn.
on Monday Night Football, 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Yeah, man. That's a
on a
late game.
Monday?
On a Monday, yeah.
Whoa.
I mean, the East Coast are not watching that game. That's 10 p.m. East Coasters.
What the fuck is up with that? Like, I don't mind it because I'm on the West Coast, but fuck, dude. 10 p.m. Eastern time for a football game.
Yeah. For some reason, they like their doubleheaders early in the season. They usually used to do it in week 1, but now I guess they're pushing it to week 2. And week 1 must have a really good Monday Night Football game.
Well, there were Monday Night Football doubleheaders last year too, even towards the end of the season. But one would start at 4, and the other would start at like 5 or 6,
Yeah.
5:30,
Yep.
7 p.m.
Maybe that's the other thing is they're
They just know
finally being
nobody would
smart.
watch the Chargers either way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think what it is, maybe I'd have to see what time the first of the doubleheaders is being played, but I remember a lot of people complaining about like last year or 2 years ago there being a doubleheader Monday Night Football, and it was like one game started an hour earlier, so you were watching 2 games at once on prime time on ESPN, and it's like,
Nobody would watch
I
one game.
yeah, they would just favor whatever game was better, or just complain about like I don't want to be switching games and miss stuff. Like I'd rather be able to watch them back to back like most football games I can. Uh Maybe they finally learned, you know what, fuck it. Let's just do a East Coast team or East Coast matchup at let's say 4 o'clock and then a West Coast matchup at 7 o'clock. That makes sense to me.
Slamming Sammy
But we'll see.
Joe, tuning back in. He says people to choose to watch the
Yeah.
Chargers like on purpose.
Yeah, man.
That's why they put it at 7 p.m. Honestly, they could have put it at 8 p.m. and the only people would have known are people who
In
pay
Las Vegas.
attention to the Raiders.
Yeah.
And then we got week
Speaking of
3.
teams, yeah, speaking of teams that I do want to watch, week 3 they are going to Washington to take on the Commanders at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Um, Pretty rough-ish first 3 games as far as travel. Flying to Foxborough, flying back home, and then flying right back in that same direction to Washington D.C. Um, and Washington being the team that they were last year, you know, I would expect a 1-2 start to start the season. The hunch would be they win versus the Patriots and then lose to the Chargers and Commanders, but I'm not going to say it's a guarantee the Chargers beat us. Like this is game 1 with the Raiders and Chargers of Harbaugh versus Pete Carroll. I think anything goes. Is it possible the Raiders come out of week 3 at 2-1? Yeah, I think it's possible. Do I think it'll happen? No, probably not. But, there are plenty of winnable games in this uh, schedule, which I haven't really. This is like the second or third time I've really looked at the schedule, so I'm still really reacting to it in a way.
Yeah, when it comes to week
Um,
2, I really think like um I think you bring up a good point about Pete Carroll versus Jim Harbaugh, which I hadn't really considered that before. Um but I would say that I'm gonna put them at 1-2 by week 3.
yeah, that's fair. That's where I would put them at too. I'm gonna try to keep my expectations low. Because usually when my expectations are low, that's when they actually get surpassed.
Week 4.
Week 4 against the Chicago Bears in Vegas. Um, I mean, this isn't really a spoiler. I don't think anybody cares, but I currently plan, and by plan I mean I need to plan to go to this game. Um, but I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, this is another one like the Patriots game of like I feel like these teams are on a similar playing field right now of like up and coming team. I would say the Bears are more up and coming, but as far as like where they are at right now, week 4, 2025, I think these teams might be in a similar place of ability to win a game. Um, to where I could see the Raiders sneaking away with a win in this game. Not saying I fully predict that, but just I think this game is going to be a lot of fun.
Hmm. I'm giving this one to the Raiders, so I got them at 2-2.
Nice. I assuming I do go to this game, which I'm very positive I am. Um, I I mean the entire offseason it was like Raiders and Bears fans just flipping each other off. You know, like it would be so satisfying to beat these guys. Um,
What hotel did you stay in last time you went?
um, I'm trying to think. At one point I went to Luxor or
Hmm.
Luxor, however you say that, and
Yeah,
then
that's
another
where I
time
stayed
that I
this
went to
past one.
Vegas. Okay, yeah, yeah. And then another time that I went to Vegas, I stayed at like a Hilton, like a Fairfield Inn or something like that, you know.
Huh?
Something off to the side. Just not like a main big, you know,
Yeah.
Vegas hotel. It was more of a just a normal chill hotel, which was actually kind of nice.
Hmm.
Um
I feel like
but
Luxor, Excalibur, and Mandalay Bay are probably the best ones to stay in if you're going to a Raider game. And I only
mm,
say Excalibur. I probably would recommend against Excalibur, but I mean those are the three closest ones to the Raider Stadium. Obviously, you stayed at Luxor for a game, but Mandalay Bay is nicer.
yeah. What did you think of Luxor's room that you stayed
It
in?
was very underwhelming. It was like
Thank you.
it was good enough to not be a bad room, but not it wasn't it wasn't nearly good enough to be a great room. It was like, all
Yeah.
right, here's two beds, no closet, and a bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why I remember going in there and like I wasn't mad or anything. I was just like, man, this feels slightly outdated. Like it feels like this was built in the 90s,
Dude,
maybe
did
even
you
before that.
try to turn on the TV?
I don't remember. Probably
Dude,
you would
it
think
was
so.
so it was so old, man. It was like
Hmm.
as if I was watching TV in the freaking 70s or something.
Huh.
And it was a freaking like it was a modern TV but just like old tech in it. Moving
Yeah.
on, Colts
Uh
in
Colts
Indianapolis.
in Indy, yeah, week 5, so this is continuing the trend which is going to continue of every other week being at home or away. Which I'll just knock out the next 3. Colts at Indy, right? 10 a.m. Then come back home for the Titans, 1:05 p.m., and then go to Kansas City October 19th, 10 a.m. week 7. Um that those I mean Colts Titans in a row, those feel like two very winnable games right now as of today. And then of course you have the Chiefs. Then you have the bye week.
I'm gonna
Um
through that point. All right, I got Colts as a win, uh,
yep.
Titans as a win, and I'm gonna give. All right, the Chiefs. I'm gonna say that's a loss.
Yeah, that's perfectly fair. All right, so for me
Four
then,
and
I'm going to say yeah, I'm going to try to count them right now. Patriots win. I'll give the loss to the Chargers, loss to the Commanders, praying for a win over the Bears, so 2-2, 3, 4, 4-3
four and
going into
three.
the bye, right? 4-3, yeah.
Also,
Okay, so
Kenny,
then,
that the Hooters Motel. That's not an actual thing, right?
yeah. Please confirm. Um,
Mike needs to know.
Yeah. Okay, so then obviously bye week, which is week 8, which is right about in the middle of the season. I would have liked it maybe a week or two later, but it's whatever. There is something to bear in mind um, in 2 to 3 weeks that I will acknowledge in a second. So you come out of the bye week at home against the Jags. The trend is actually still continuing of every other week being home and away. Before the bye, it was away, then come back out of the bye at home, and then go to Thursday Night Football at Denver, November 6th. How are we feeling about the Jags and Broncos games?
Okay, I'm I'm gonna go ahead and give the Raiders a win for the Jaguars game. It's very premature, but
Yeah.
you know, I gotta make a prediction one way or another.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. We're in May. This is May 17th, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, all this is very premature.
I'm gonna give the Broncos game a loss for the Raiders. I know you're gonna be very happy about that.
Just to confirm, you were also 4-3 coming going into the bye.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I'm pretty much agreeing with you. Although I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna say we lose to the Jags but beat the Broncos. Not that it really matters. So we're both at 5-4 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, the bye week was week 8, and I would have liked the bye week to be like 2 weeks later. But what the Raiders do get is they go from the bye week to a Sunday game against the Jags to a Thursday game. So, a lot of rest and then a little rest for that Broncos game. But
And
then you
then a
go from
lot.
Thursday to Monday night football.
Really
So it's
quickly,
kind of like what?
sorry to cut you off. I think
No.
that having the bye week after the Chiefs game, I think is actually pretty nice to have because
Yeah. I mean, I'd
you
rather
know
have it before the Chiefs game, but I get what you're saying.
no, because all right, sometimes having a bye week after a loss can actually be a good thing because you get guys to buy in, in the locker room of like what needs to be studied during film and just kind of like time to regroup before you play a very winnable game against Jacksonville.
Yeah. No, definitely. Um, but I do like that Thursday to Monday, 2 weeks later,
Uh huh.
after the bye week, like you get another kind of a week and a half off. Not off, you're still practicing, but you're not playing a game.
Yeah.
Uh so it's almost like a mini bye in between that Broncos and Cowboys game, but you know. Okay, but then so going on to the Cowboys, Monday Night Football. This should be a fun game. Um I hope that the Raiders are a good enough team to where we can beat the Cowboys. uh that would be fun on Monday Night Football on the national stage. That would be a lot of fun.
This one's tough for me because I don't feel that either team is particularly that good. Like I feel like the
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys got worse. Um, but
Yeah, I'm going with the Raiders.
I'm gonna give it. Uh, I
And the reason why for me is the Cowboys run game.
I I want the Raiders to win because I don't like the Cowboys, and also I think like Lorenzo's reaction in the group chat is gonna be fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna chalk this up as a loss for the Raiders because I need to give them a loss somewhere. So I'm gonna put them at 5-5. Although I think they could very well win that game. I don't think the Cowboys are that much better than
You heard it here first, folks. The fix is in.
them.
Uh, I was kidding. All right, so then they go from that game. They finally break the streak, and they get 2 home games in a row. Um, with the Browns on November 23rd at 105. Browns. Yeah, let's think about the Browns for a second. Okay, the Raiders are gonna win that game. Can we confirm?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I gave the Raiders the win versus the Cowboys, win versus the Browns. Um, So coming out of the Cowboys game, you said they were 5-5. So then I would be 6-4. So now I'm 7-4. Is that correct?
I'm not doing tally marks for you. I was doing it for me. Uh, I can do tally marks for you. Do you want me to?
Oh, that'd be great.
All right. Where were you?
All right, I'll count really quick. 7 wins, 4 losses. I'm 7-4 right now. What the fuck?
So much
This
for
makes no
keeping low
sense. God damn
expectations.
it. Yeah, I mean they do have kind of a rough patch at the end here. Actually, yeah, they do. They do. Um, so really, I mean, really, I'll just go over the next 4 games. Chargers away, which let's be honest, is it really away? Broncos at home, December 7th. Philadelphia away in December, and then Houston Texans away, December 21st. Um, I'm at 7-4, and I see 4 really hard teams. I'm gonna give the Raiders 3 losses, 1 win, which would put them at a 500 at 8-8, right? Or no, I guess that's 8-7. I just don't know math because I was seven and
Uh,
four. Wow, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I'm way too tired. I don't see the
I'm on.
tallies, so I don't know.
I'm trying to figure out where we're at right now. Are we on the Browns? Or do
Yeah,
are
we
we?
were at the Browns, and I was what 7-4.
Yes.
Okay, give me 3 losses, which would be 7-7, right?
You're gonna go 3 losses in a row,
Sure,
but
and then give me 1 win.
against against. Oh, so you're not even being specific. It's out of these
Yeah, because
four
it's so
games.
premature. It's hard for me to
Yeah.
be specific. It's just I see 4 really hard games. I say
Okay.
we win 1 game, and I'm too far ahead of 500 to be comfortable. You know,
Okay.
like really, like you could chalk this up as like, oh, I said we were going to win the Broncos game earlier this season. Maybe we lose that game. Oh, I
Mm,
said we were going to win the Bears game. Maybe we lose that game. But maybe we
yeah.
pull out a win against one of these 3 teams that I'm saying we lose to. You know,
Yeah.
as far as averaging it out.
Okay. I do agree over that 3 game stretch. Maybe you guys win one. After
Yeah.
out of that 4 game stretch, maybe you guys win one.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I'd say realistically, maybe we win 2. Like, I mean, 2 divisional games. Like, I technically speaking, I chalked this up to losing both Chargers games. I wholeheartedly do not believe that. I think we're splitting that series this year. There's no way that they get us both times.
the Chargers
Um,
or the Broncos.
famous last words. Yeah, Chargers. So
I'm
technically,
still
you could
trying to
say that
think.
I chose us to win the Chargers game in LA and then lose the next 3 games.
You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put 1 win and 3 losses.
Yep.
And
So
then
now if I'm not
uh,
mistaken, I'm at 8-7. You're probably at 7-8.
Giants at home, easy money.
Win. So now I'm at 9-7.
Okay. Yes, you're at 9-7,
Cool.
and I think they're losing Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them the win.
Yeah, I think if Kansas City is the 1 seed, and
Yeah, if they're resting starters, it's an easy win. But I also think this is another one of me like averaging it out, and I feel like this team can get a win against the Chiefs,
mm,
against this Chiefs team.
so
Especially especially if this is end of the year and it's like a fight for the playoffs. Whereas the Chiefs, it's more like a fight for the 5th seed or not the 5th seed, like the second, third, first seed. If they're fighting for the 1st seed, yeah. But if it's like they have nothing to fight for, they already have the 2 or 3 seed locked. Like I just at that point the Raiders would have more fight in the game. You know, that's really projecting again. This is all premature. So,
Okay, so I've got
anyways.
the Raiders at 8-9.
Okay.
You've got them at 10-7.
Yep, I'm already being a homer.
Look at this! Look at this guy, ten and
Yeah,
seven.
I'm over here like I'm not gonna get my hopes up. That's the best way for me, to not be let down. Oh, we're going 10-7.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Mike's like, I don't want to get my hopes up.
this
Sees the
yeah,
schedule, and then he's like,
13 wins, bitch.
he's
We're
like the
doing it.
fucking Raiders.
Yeah. Li- I mean, looking at the schedule, it's easy to say, "Oh, win in fucking what, June or May." Um, Realistically, like today, if you were to ask me, what is the Raiders' final winning record at the end of the season, without looking at the schedule and like doing it the way that we just did it, I would probably say 8-9.
Mm.
So I feel better about your prediction, um, and I think 8-9 is me tempering my expectations. But I also see the ceiling of this team of being something like a 10-17.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on.
I agree. Let us move on. Let me switch the topic over. All right, in the chat, I want to see what you guys think about how many wins the Raiders will have. I see Raider Nation 510 has 10 to
10 to
12 wins
12.
season. Uh, I'm sure you might have said that every year, and I'm so sorry for that. Minimum 5 wins, max 8. I'd guess closer to 8, says Slam and Sammy Joe. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think 8.
I just 8-9 feels about right to me for year one of Pete Carroll. I think that's similar to what he did with the Seahawks, like his first year. Um, I mean, this is a team coming off of what, like 4 or 5 wins last year. Like getting to 500 feels pretty good to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know 8-9 isn't 500, but you know what I mean.
Essentially, what Slam and Sammy Joe said is that Josh knows ball. Um, Papa J says 7-10 or 7-10. I think he, yes,
Seven and
seven
ten.
and ten.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Niners 2025 schedule.
Well, I mean, you did ask how many wins do you see, so maybe he is saying 7 to 10 wins.
Yeah. Let me know. Let me
Who
know,
knows?
Papa J. All right, let's see. Open image in a new tab. Okay, I need to zoom this stuff.
Which actually, that's probably the perfect range that I could put out. Is like, if I had to guess what the Raiders do this year, do I expect 10 wins? Hell no. But I would say 7 to 10 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the more wise answer is like 6 to 9 wins, but I don't know.
69 wins. Nice.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Back in my day.
Wow, this looks clean on the podcast. Look at that. Fits right
Yes.
in.
7 wins, 10 losses. All right. 49ers 2025 schedule. Mike, put your shirt back on.
I just need to get comfortable. Oh, continue.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh, Slam Sammy Joe says Papa J is on the money. 7-10. 7-10 record is what I'd bet money on. Yeah, that does kind of feel right.
It feels right, and honestly, I wouldn't even be overly let down by that.
Mm.
For year one of this regime, I'd be fine with it.
Okay, so the Niners start week 1. I think
that is a preseason.
Yeah. Well, yeah, preseason. Sorry, preseason week 1. I'm trying to determine whether or not Red is at home. Yeah, Red is at home. So they've got the Broncos, Raiders, Chargers.
Yep.
Which is nice because we can talk about that Raider game.
Yeah. I also like that lately they've been doing a good job of keeping the preseason games in like West versus West,
Yeah.
I like that.
And we've got Seattle, so win.
week 1 of the regular season.
Oh, hold on. Let me do tally marks here. So, Seattle, that's give me the Niners there. So let me go 49ers. I'm writing this down on a Costco on the back of a Costco receipt. How about that?
Nice.
I know I have that one spreadsheet, but I'm like currently using Google Chrome and I don't want to open up another tab because I'm like paranoid because my freaking computer crashed when I first started the stream. So, all right, and then I'll put Mike. Okay. So let's see here. Wins. I'm gonna give the Niners a win. Week 1 against Seattle. Give me that. What do you got, Mike?
Yeah, I'll give it to the Niners as well.
Okay. Week 2 against the Saints.
2-0.
That's that's barbecue chicken. That's
Yeah.
licking my fingers right now. Easy money. 2-0 on 2 road games.
Yeah, you do start away both week 1 and 2. Your home opener is week 3.
Week 3 against the Cardinals. That's a win. Hell yeah.
I think the Cardinals can be sneaky tough this year.
Yeah, also Kyler Murray always gives the 49ers freaking trouble. Niners struggle against Kyler Murray, you know? It really against mobile quarterbacks in general, but like I don't know. If we're 2-0, I like I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm being premature because we do have like a young defense. It's just I don't know. Just give me the Niners, man.
Yeah.
Slam and Sammy Joe's going to give them an L for the Cardinals game. So
I think he might have been saying that for the Seahawks game. Which I think the way that I feel is I feel more confident the Niners beat the Seahawks than they do beat the Cardinals.
I agree.
But the way that I'll go about this is one of those two teams is going to beat the Niners. I just don't know which one. So I'm at 2-1 right now.
I'm at 3-0. And I feel like if it was Cardinals on the road, I think I would say
that checks more the box for a loss.
Yeah, but it's going to be the home opener.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to the Niners, that one. All right, then Jacksonville, week 4. It's another win. Davaruski. That's biscuits and gravy right there. Okay.
Against the Jags?
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be a fun game, but yeah, I got the Niners beating them.
Okay. Then we got the Rams in
LA. I know Niner fans show up pretty well for these games, but I think the Rams are winning this division. Give me the Rams.
Hold on. And it's going to be Thursday night football. It's going to be tough. I'll give the Niners their first loss there. I want to say the Niners would win, but I do know I was very in favor of the Niners the first 4 games, so I'll give them a loss right there.
Yeah.
You know? So I got them at 4-1. Then against the Buccaneers, that's going to be tough because they have a lot of good receivers. Got Baker Mayfield who can distribute the ball. They got they're going to be on the road in Tampa Bay. That's going to be a hard game. Bucky Irving, our defensive tackle. You're gonna take the Bucks?
Yeah, away. I'll take the Bucks at home.
Okay,
which would put me at 2-1.
I want to say win, but I'll chalk it for a loss.
Shit, I'm at 3-3 right now. At least I think I am.
Yeah, you're at 3-3.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm at 4-2.
Falcons game.
It's a win.
I think this Huh.
I do agree with
On
Papa
paper,
J.
the
This is
Falcons have a really good team.
revenge season.
I'm gonna be a total pussy here. I'm gonna take back my Cardinals loss. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So the Niners start 4-0 for me, but then they lose the next three. I'm at 4-3. I got them losing to the Falcons.
Oof.
If the
No.
Falcons can get that team that they have on paper to work, and it's a lot of ifs, I guess, but if Michael Penix Jr. is a starting quarterback in this league and plays, to the expectation of that general manager and head coach regime, the Falcons are going to be fucking good.
I give it to
Because
the
their
Niners.
defense on paper is really actually not bad. It's just for some reason they played bad. But if they bring it all together, man, it's a lot of ifs for the Falcons. But if they bring it together with those two rookie edge rushers, they can be very good.
I will give this Texans one a loss. I'm going to say out of those two games, one of those is going to be a loss between the Falcons and the Texans.
I agree with that statement. I'm going to give the Niners this Texans game.
Okay, so we're both at 5-3?
Yes.
Okay.
Now
then against the Giants. No. 5-3, right?
Yeah, but now I'm saying we're 6-3.
Oh, because the Giants?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we got Niners.
Sorry, I don't mean to rush that. Just the Giants suck.
Yeah. Then we got Niners at home against the Rams. It's going to be a Sunday afternoon game.
Sorry to pause this really quick, but are any of these games that we've talked about since the Rams game, or any of these other games primetime?
Yeah, the Falcons.
Oh, yeah, I can't even see it. Sorry.
Sunday night football.
Sunday night football at home.
That's why I give that one to the Niners, and then
right, Texans to the Texans. I agree with you on the statement of they're going to win and lose one of those games, each of those two games. So I'm fine with that. I think the Falcons can pull it off. Okay, Rams at home for the Niners. I gave the Rams the last one. I'll give this one to the Niners.
Okay. I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I'm going to side on the 49ers with this one because I like Shanahan against McVay. Typically. Assuming they're healthy. So you're giving this one to the Niners too?
The Rams game, yes.
Okay, the Cardinals
I think they split.
is where I think they split.
Yeah, I agree. I'm giving this one to the Cardinals.
Okay. So we're both 7-4. And then the Niners are going to return back home Monday Night Football against the Carolina Panthers. That's a win.
Yes. Should be.
Okay. So we're 8-4. We're each 8-4 right now. Okay?
Yeah.
We got at Cleveland.
God damn, you guys got a week 14 bye.
We do?
Jesus.
Oh, yeah. We do.
Wow.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Raider Nation 5-0 says 49ers 4-6 win season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Browns. The Niners are winning.
It's going to win.
Yeah.
Then again, they lost to the Browns with P.J. Walker. Right now, the Browns have two tremendous pass rushers.
Yeah, all they need is one of those quarterbacks, one of those 76 quarterbacks that they have to work out.
Yeah, well, they had P.J. Walker, is my point, and then the bye. So, all right. I've got 9-4 at the bye.
And that should be me as well, right?
Yeah, although thinking about it a little bit more, the Niners are probably going to drop. Realistically, they're going to drop another game or two before that because it's gonna be one of those things. They're kind of, their stars are kind of old, and it's, yeah, we really needed this bye. We can regather and whatnot. But so far, we got 9-4, which is being generous, I think.
Yeah, by the way, everything you just said about like, well, the Niners are probably going to drop two more before the bye. That's exactly the way that I feel about the way that I projected the Raiders. Like I came out like, oh yeah, 10-7. Wow. Yeah, they're probably going to have to eight fucking wins.
Mm-hmm.
Like okay, I can see 10 wins now. Knock off two more.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, Titans at home, barbecue chicken.
Yeah, that should be a win.
Easy money.
So what? 10-4.
Yeah, we got 10-4.
Sheesh.
Oop.
Got to scroll. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Monday Night Football at Colts just before Christmas. Yeah, give me the Niners. Jesus.
Yeah, give me the Niners. They do have the easiest schedule, so maybe we aren't.
Yeah, they do.
Maybe we aren't being too nice. It's just
right.
They might have a lot of wins, but they might be that team that's. I'm projecting the Niners to win a playoff game this year, but I don't think go further than that.
Right.
Obviously, depending on who they play. Like if they get Philadelphia or Detroit, then we had a good season. All right, then against the Bears, give me
the Bears.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, this is partially for the sake of evening things out, because the Niners have a lot of wins. Yeah. Like you said, like they lost to PJ Walker. Like one of these teams is going to beat you guys that we were saying is going to lose to them.
I could see it. Niners always drop like a late game here and there, even when they're good. But
plus with the Bears, just my thing here, like you know how sometimes the course of a season, like a team can completely change. I can see the Bears being like this early season, like, oh, we still don't know really what they are. Oh, Caleb Williams, blah, 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 all the receivers. And then by the end of the season, it's like, okay, we see Ben Johnson's vision. The offense is humming, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And you're facing them at the end of the season.
Yeah. And then we got Seattle week 18. I'm giving that to the Niners. This is at home. And
yeah, I guess really this one for me just depends on what are we fighting for. Like, what am I at right now? Am I at like 14 wins and fucking
no,
5
you're
losses?
11-5.
Okay, I'm an idiot. I'm too tired to do math. 11-5.
I got the Niners 17-0.
You did have that before. I'm pretty positive. Like a year or two ago.
No, I didn't say that they were gonna. Hold on, let me. I gotta pull that up. It's just
maybe it probably wasn't that you said it preseason, like schedule release, but you projected like every single week.
Yes.
In the given week that they're gonna win. Okay, so I have them at, what did you say, 11-5?
Yeah, 11-5.
Well, it's one or two things. Either they have the top wild card seed locked in, they don't need to, start their starters, or they are battling for a certain seed in the playoffs, so they will win this game. So it's either they're resting their starters and they lose, or they're fighting for a playoff seeding and they win. I'm 50-50 on this game.
Mm-hmm. I gave it to the Niners because fuck the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'll lean Niners for sure.
Okay, so you've got them at 12-5.
No, actually, sorry, I'm gonna pick the Seahawks.
Okay,
I'm gonna project them to split with the Seahawks. That's not like a fuck you. It's just
no.
That week 1 game still gets to me. Like I can see the Seahawks being like this tough team. not like a playoff team, but just like tough enough to beat teams, you know?
Mm-hmm. All right. So, oh, hold on. Let's see here. So I have the Niners at 13-4, which is unrealistic. So I'd say more realistic would probably be like a 10-6, or I mean 11-6, like Kenny 49ers said in the chat.
And what did I have them at?
You had them at 11. Yeah, 11-6.
That's right. See, look, that you ended out 2 games over what you think is realistic for the Niners. I ended out 2 games over what I think is realistic for the Raiders.
Yeah.
And the other person got it like kind of dead on. From the outside looking in from fucking May 17th, like, way too early to tell.
Yeah, it's a way too early to tell because if the Niners, if their rookie draft class for their defense, if they pan out, I could absolutely see them being a 13-win team. Yeah. Will they be the strongest 13-win team? I wouldn't say so. Like, we saw the Vikings lose in the first round of the playoffs, and they won 14 games last year with Sam Darnold. Like, sometimes it helps to just have an easy schedule.
Yeah, the Seahawks also have the new offense coming in with Kubiak, so it's kind of a Shanahan scheme. I don't know. They're going to be a newer look Seahawks team, but they're young. It can go either way for them.
Mm-hmm. In terms of the Cleveland game, I did see Kenny 49ers did have a fun fact. He says, fun fact, Kyle is 1-9 versus Jim Schwartz, Flores, and Spags. The Cleveland game could actually be a loss. I do agree. That's why I did have pause, because they do have an elite pass rushers. I don't think it's going to be a very high scoring game, that one. But so that's probably where I'm going to get closer to Mike with the 11-6.
Beautiful.
So, yeah. Let's see. What do you guys think? Raider Nation 510 says Raiders are trending up, 49ers are trending down. Well, no matter where the trend is, the Niners play in the NFC West and the Raiders play in the AFC West. So, good luck, buddy. I think the Raiders could, if I was going to say they could be contenders for the NFC West title if they played, if they swap divisions.
Yeah, if they switch with the Seahawks.
No, or if they switch with the Niners.
Yeah, I mean, I gotcha. Yeah.
Niners would probably be last. They'd probably be last in the AFC West this year.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much uncertainty.
Oh. Yeah, that's arguable. Although their schedule, like if you keep the schedule, they're at least second.
That's the point. You wouldn't keep the schedule.
Yeah, so in that case, yeah, you're right. Yep. That's rough for the Raiders, man. Where I thought you were going was like you kind of paused and you were like, yeah, I could see the Raiders. I thought you were going to say, I could see them winning the division in 20 years when all the quarterbacks are retired.
Mike, have the Raiders won the division in the past 20 years?
No.
So why would I see them winning the division in the next 20 years?
Yeah. Honestly, at this rate, they may never win a division again.
Dude, they went 12-4 in 2016 and still didn't win the division.
Yep.
That sucked.
Yeah, the fucking Chiefs were in our way. It's awesome.
And that was before Mahomes.
Yep, that was Alex Smith. To my point about him being a great bridge quarterback.
Man, this show wasn't about Brock Purdy. This show wasn't about Derek Carr. This show was about Alex Smith. That just fully like brought it full circle.
Yeah, man.
Slam and Sammy Joe says if Falcons win, I'm at 11-6. If Slam and Sammy Joe says it's 11-6, then that's what it's gonna be.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. 49ers have the tougher division, says Raider Nation 510. No. No, they don't.
Yeah,
The Raiders have the
I
tougher
don't.
division.
Yeah.
Yeah. Slam and Sammy Joe says Raiders could be a playoff team if they played in the South. Yeah. I'd say so. But anyways, everybody, that's the show. Please like and subscribe. I want to thank everybody in the chat who shared comments with us today. You guys were on fire today. You know, Kenny 49er tuning in for the first time, just stuck with us. Like, he was the first person who commented on the stream that didn't even last. It cut off after 10 minutes, and then we had to do part 2. So, let's see. I want to thank Slam and Sammy Joe, Raider Nation 510, Kenny 49ers, Papa J. I know there was Daryl. I think that's what his name was. Yeah, it was Daryl.
Azine.
Both the Anthonys. G Martinez, Wi-Fi. JM, whatever numbers. Also, let's see. Oh, Papa J. I want to thank Papa J. Fonzie. I want to thank Fonzie. Yeah, JM617.
Dude, I would fucking lose it if you like keep scrolling and you just keep saying Papa J. Oh, Papa J. Thank you.
I want to also thank Papa J.
Yeah.
Yeah, JM617 says Papa J. I want to thank Papa J. Yeah, but anyways,
and if we didn't say it, Kenny 49ers, gotta thank you.
Yeah.
Also shout out for subbing.
Yeah, especially, you know, we definitely like when you know, Kenny 49ers wasn't just all Niners tonight. He was giving a bunch of Raider opinions too. And I feel like that it's really cool when football fans are just able to give opinions on other teams too, because then like, I mean, you just get other perspectives, and I think that's what we're all about. Getting other perspectives, which is why the Niners are going 17-0 and are gonna lose. Never. They're going all. You know what? They're gonna win the Super Bowl this year. It's at Levi's, right? Why not? Why not, Mike? You know what? That the fate of the season, they're gonna go 13-4. They're gonna win their division. Then they're gonna play. I don't know.
I guess in the championship.
If they won their division, they wouldn't be playing the Eagles or the Lions. But I'm like, yep, season's over once that happens.
Well, I got a better one for you. They're going to win their division. They're going to somehow pull it out over the Rams by 1 game. And they'll be the 2 seed behind the Eagles. Lions is the 3 seed. They'll, maybe they take on the Rams the first round of the playoffs, and they win. And now it's like, whoa, this is serious. Round 2. You got the Lions at home, rematch of the NFC Championship a few years ago. And the Niners win. And they go on and they get another rematch against the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. This is the Brock Purdy elbow game all over again. And the Niners win. And they are in the Super Bowl. Going up against
The
The
Kansas
seventh seed
City,
of the AFC,
the
the
Kansas
Las
City
Vegas
Chiefs.
Raiders.
Oh,
In
and then we
Santa
had that
Clara,
deal,
it's time
dude.
to pay
Honestly,
off the bet.
honestly, we'd all fucking die. You know, like I really just think that like at that point, don't even play the football game. Just line up all the Niner fans on one side, line up all the Raider fans on the other side, and just, you know, nobody can bring weapons except for like hidden pocket knives or whatever, because, you know, it's going to fucking happen. Just put, just all the tailgate tables, just line it up in the middle, fucking put hella guns, and just let them have at it. That determines who wins. Don't let the football game be played. Everybody just dies. Right, Mike?
Sorry, my headphones died, so now I'm probably echoing, so I keep muting my mic. But I'm all good here. I'm ready to go to bed.
Yeah, real quick. Raider Nation 510 said, "Good luck playing Puka and Adams twice a year." Yeah, I guess that is what I get. You know, I kind of was a little mean when I said, "Good luck in your division." So I deserved that one. But good luck to the Lions and losing their offensive and defensive coordinator. Yeah, that is a good point. Didn't really think about that one. Slam and Sammy Joe says thinks that the 49ers is 6 seed will play the Rams in the wild card round. I would I wouldn't mind playing the Rams in the first round. And Papa J says, "Thanks guys, great show. God bless everybody." And I think that's the perfect way. It's a perfect send off. Thank you guys. We'll catch you guys in the next live stream. Hopefully I don't crash next time. But yeah, let's not have a Raider Niners Super Bowl in the Bay Area. That's how everyone dies. Everyone.
One last thing for me on a completely off topic level. Yeah, whatever. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, at the end we get a new comment.
Yeah, we get CG Ruthless tuning back in.
What's up? But completely off topic from football. I'm in the middle of, I guess it'd be the middle of watching season 2 of The Last of Us. I'm watching it every Sunday, Monday when it releases. Um, and it releases every week, right? And like season 1 of The Last of Us was one of the best shows I watched, and the game's great. I actually haven't played the games all the way through. I've just started the first game, so I'm ahead of myself in the game now in the show, right? So I've gotten fucking everything spoiled, whatever. The point isn't The Last of Us. If anybody here who hasn't watched these shows is a fan of Star Wars, like I've been all in on The Last of Us, and I still am, but in the midst of watching The Last of Us, like in between episode 3 and 4 of The Last of Us season 2, I powered through like the first 6 episodes of Andor season 2. And then I watched episodes 7, 8, and 9 of Andor season 2. And those 3 episodes, specifically episode 8, but also episode 9, were some of the best television I have ever fucking watched in my life. And then they just had the finale. So they dropped it. The way that they dropped it was 4 different drops of 3 episodes for Andor season 2. So they just dropped the finale with the last 3 episodes, and it was great. It was awesome. it leads directly into a certain movie. I won't say what it is for lack of spoilers. But if you like Star Wars and you haven't watched Andor, dude, do it. It's not like your typical zoom zoom pew pew. You know, like if you like legitimate storytelling and character building, this isn't your typical Star Wars for kids stuff. Like this is actual television, and it's top tier. Andor.
What did that have to
What did
do with
that have to
Last of
do with
Us?
Last of Us?
The point of that was I was all in on Last of Us, and I started watching Andor, and I said, "Fuck Last of Us," for like until I'm done with Andor. Like I'm good. Like and Last of Us to me is like a top tier show. But once I got on Andor, I was like, I'm all in. And I hadn't watched season 1 in years of Andor.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, mute
yourself.
Mike's AirPods died, so there's a little bit of an echo. But I did see CG Ruthless did tune in. CG, unfortunately, the show is over, but I want to thank you for tuning in. And if you want to catch the first part of us talking about the Brock Purdy contract, it is in, I guess, it's technically part 1 of the live stream. It got cut off into 2 because my computer crashed, which has never happened before, but it did. And yeah, this is part 2 of episode 78, and Mike and I are both signing out. And yeah, last words, Mike.
To Sling and Sammy Joe, Last of Us season 2 is fine. A lot of people are making out things that are not that serious and whatnot. Like it, yeah, it's good. It's very good. But Andor is better.
You hear that, everyone? Andor is better. So tune into that show if you like Star Wars, and if you don't, you're with me. I liked episode 3. I got to rewatch the prequels. I couldn't care less about Rogue One.
See, I can't. I mean, for lack of spoilers, I can't talk about it. But
I gotta watch the sequels too. I gotta get the full picture. The full grasp. So
yeah,
I'm gonna rewatch the originals. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Did I say rewatch the prequels? I meant rewatch the originals.
But I knew what you meant. Yeah.
So, yeah, I did like episode 3 though. That one was very good.
Yeah.
But I'd say, as it currently stands, unless I rewatch the original trilogy, and I like it more than I did the first time, which I think I will. Unless I do that, I think that episode 3 is the only good Star Wars movie I've seen. And it was very good. So, yeah. Everyone, have a great night. Have a better night than I did when I watched these movies. And have as good of a night as Mike has watching Andor. Peace out, everyone. Thank you.
Peace.